Every UPSC result proves one thing quietly. Success does not begin at the final stage. It begins much earlier, with the kind of foundation a student builds. The UPSC CSE 2025 result makes that visible again. 10 candidates in the top 100 prepared through the Vision IAS GS Foundation Classroom course, including AIR 5 Nishan Bhatnagar. That kind of result is not built on motivation alone. It is built on the right sequence, the right guidance, and the right correction. This is what the Vision IAS Delhi GS Foundation course is designed for. Concept-first classroom learning, so preparation is not scattered. Early answer writing and testing, so improvement starts on time. PT 365 and Mains 365, so current affairs become usable in the exam. And mentorship that keeps preparation aligned, focused and accountable. Because in UPSC, hard work is common. Structured preparation is what creates separation. If you are targeting UPSC 2027, start by building your base the right way. Vision IAS Delhi GS Foundation course. Upcoming classroom batches at Karol Bagh, 24th March at 5 p.m, 30th March at 8 a.m, and 7th April at 11 a.m. At GTB Nagar, 17th March at 8 a.m. and 25th March at 6 p.m. Register at our website or call us on the given number.
यूपीएससी 2027 का लक्ष्य जितना बड़ा है उसे पाने की योजना भी उतनी ही स्पष्ट और संगठित होनी चाहिए। विजन आईएएस लेकर आया है क्लासरूम फाउंडेशन कोर्स 2027 के 12 से 14 महीनों का एक ऐसा सुव्यवस्थित कार्यक्रम है जहां आपकी तैयारी एक अनुशासित और वैज्ञानिक ढांचे में आगे बढ़ती है। यहाँ क्लासरूम लर्निंग के साथ साथ आपको मिलता है लाइव और रिकॉर्डेड सेशंस का विकल्प, जिसे आप अपने व्यक्तिगत ऑनलाइन पोर्टल के माध्यम से कभी भी और कहीं भी एक्सेस कर सकते हैं। तैयारी के सफर को और भी प्रभावी बनाती है हमारी व्यक्तिगत क्लासरूम मेंटरिंग। हमारे एक्सपर्ट मेंटर्स नियमित मार्गदर्शन और स्मार्ट स्टडी मैनेजमेंट के जरिए आपकी तैयारी को एक सही दिशा और गति प्रदान करते हैं। शैक्षणिक दृष्टिकोण से देखें तो ये कोर्स मुख्य परीक्षा के सामान्य अध्ययन के चारों प्रश्न पत्रों, सीसेट और निबंध का व्यापक कवरेज सुनिश्चित करता है। विषयों की समसामयिक समझ विकसित करने के लिए मासिक करंट अफेयर्स मैगजीन और रिवीजन क्लासेस के साथ साथ PT 365 और मेंस 365 की विशेष कक्षाएं भी इस कार्यक्रम का अनिवार्य हिस्सा हैं, ताकि स्टैटिक और करंट अफेयर्स के बीच एक सटीक संतुलन बना रहे। तैयारी की गहराई मापने के लिए निरंतर अभ्यास अनिवार्य है, इसलिए डेली असाइनमेंट और साप्ताहिक मिनी टेस्ट के साथ साथ मासिक प्रीलिम्स और मेंस टेस्ट के माध्यम से आपकी प्रगति का निरंतर आकलन किया जाता है। इस कार्यक्रम की शक्ति है हमारी प्रतिष्ठित ऑल इंडिया टेस्ट सीरीज, जिसमें प्रीलिम्स के 35, मेंस के 30, सीसेट के 25 और निबंध के 5 टेस्ट का समावेश है। साथ ही संधान पोर्टल पर 25,000 से अधिक प्रश्नों का विशाल संग्रह आपके अभ्यास और विश्लेषण को और भी सुदृढ़ बनाता है। अब समय है अपनी मेहनत को एक मजबूत, संरचित और निरंतर प्रक्रिया में ढालने का। विजन आईएएस के साथ जुड़े और यूपीएससी 2027 की अपनी सफलता की राह को एक स्पष्ट दिशा दें।
UPSC Prelims is not the destination, it's the first crucial step, and clearing this step requires more than hard work. It demands the right strategy. Vision IAS All India GS Prelims Test Series 2027 with Sandhan is designed to give you that edge from the very beginning. With 35 structured tests, build your journey from fundamentals to full-length tests, ensuring clear, step-by-step progression. With Sandhan, personalized practice, you get more than 25,000 questions targeting your weak areas. Every test becomes a step toward measurable improvement. With smart analysis plus mentoring gain, get precise insights into your mistakes and refine your strategy with expert guidance. With quick revision material, QRM, focus on revising what truly matters exactly when you need it the most. Starting from 19th April, ensure you don't just attempt Prelims 2027, you prepare to clear it. To register, visit our website or call us on the given numbers. All India GS Mains Test Series and Mentoring Program 2027, not just a test series, a system designed to improve how you write. For Mains 2027, what matters is not how much you know, but how effectively you present it on paper. And that's exactly what this program builds. Write regularly, get evaluated with precision, understand your mistakes, improve with clear mentorship. So with every test, your answers become more structured, more relevant, more impactful. This is where preparation turns into performance. Start early, improve consistently. Be ready for Mains 2027. To know more, visit our website or call us on the given numbers. Are you ready to face prelims head-on? Because prelims is not just about knowledge, it's about performance under pressure. That's where Abhyas, the All India Prelims, GS plus CSAT mock test comes in. Designed as a true exam simulation, Abhyas recreates the real UPSC. Prelims experience the same pattern, the same time constraints, and the same intensity. It places you in a national arena, competing with aspirants across India, backed by an all-India ranking that reveals your true standing. Attempted by 1 in 3 top 50 rankers, Abhyas has become a trusted benchmark for serious aspirants. With detailed post-test analysis, live discussions, and complete syllabus coverage in both English and Hindi, it ensures your preparation is not just extensive but exam-ready. 3 full-length offline simulations will be conducted across 100+ cities on 5th April, 19th April, and 10th May. From 9:30 am to 11:30 am for General Studies, that is Paper 1, and 2:30 pm to 4:30 pm for CSAT, that's Paper 2. Challenge your preparation, test your performance. For more information or register, visit our website or call us on the given numbers. Every UPSC result proves one thing quietly: success does not begin at the final stage. It begins much earlier, with the kind of foundation a student builds. The UPSC CSE 2025 result makes that visible again. 10 candidates in the top 100 prepared through the Vision IAS GS Foundation Classroom course, including AIR 5 Nishan Bhatnagar. That kind of result is not built on motivation alone. It is built on the right sequence, the right guidance, and the right correction. This is what the Vision IAS Delhi GS Foundation course is designed for. Concept first classroom learning, so preparation is not scattered. Early answer writing and testing, so improvement starts on time. PT 365 and Mains 365, so current affairs become usable in the exam. And mentorship that keeps preparation aligned, focused, and accountable. Because in UPSC, hard work is common. Structured preparation is what creates separation. If you are targeting UPSC 2027, start by building your base the right way. Vision IAS Delhi GS Foundation course. Upcoming classroom batches at Karol Bagh, 24th March at 5 pm, 30th March at 8 am, and 7th April at 11 am. At GTB Nagar, 17th March at 8 am and 25th March at 6 pm. Register at our website or call us on the given number.
यूपीएससी 2027 का लक्ष्य जितना बड़ा है उसे पाने की योजना
Hello. Is there anyone who was not present yesterday? Okay, so आप क्वेश्चन पेपर इनको तुम्हारे पास क्वेश्चन पेपर है? एक क्वेश्चन जो कल वाला क्वेश्चन पेपर है. Anyone else? जो नहीं थे प्रेजेंट कल उनको जस्ट those who are watching it online, you can download the question paper from the previous session. Hopefully it should be available in today's session also. Okay? ठीक है, मैं ये जब कब बंटवाना है मैं बता दूंगा मैं. सॉरी, हाँ ले लो, लास्ट कल वाला है ना. So I asked you guys to attempt rest of the questions at home. I hope you guys did that. So apart from discussing rest of the questions, I'm also going to give you a new test paper for today's session, right? But for remaining questions, I'm simply going to jump into the discussion part, okay? So in last session, by the way, one correction, Shivans, you pointed out yesterday, that in the very first question, while discussing about this theme, I mentioned that our new updated NDC is 2.5 to 3, which is not correct, it is 3.5 to 4. So जो updated nationally determined contribution है, that is 3.5 to 4 billion tons by 2035. ठीक है? So I mentioned in the previous 2.5 to 3 was the previous NDC. The current NDC is 3.5 to 4 billion ton. Okay, let's go to question number 46, I think, or 45. कहाँ तक हमने डिस्कस किया था? Okay, let's start with this 46. All of these species have been in news. What will be the answer here? All three. Indian wild ass, endangered animal, found in run of Kutch, Gujarat. Mostly because of loss of, does not have predators per se. It is mostly because of decline of the quality of the habitat. Golden langur, often will spot in northeast, and the best place to do that will be in Manas region, Sankosh river in Assam. So yeah, second is also true. Nil Korinji, Shola grasslands of Western Ghat. So if you go to Tamil Nadu, Kerala, on the upper regions of mountains in Western Ghat, you can find Nil Korinji. Very famous for the fact that it flowers once in 12 years. When it flowers, the entire valley becomes very, very beautiful. One of the best places to spot it will be a national park I discussed in the last class, Iravukulam National Park in Kerala. Somebody had a question? हाँ, flower है, Nil Korinji flower है. हाँ तो शोला ग्रासलैंड्स हो सकते हैं. ग्रासलैंड ओके, आई होप कि उसके कारण आपने तो गलत नहीं किया कि ग्रासलैंड जो नील कोरिंजी है, दिस इज फाउंड इन द अपर रीजन्स ऑफ द माउंटेन एंड yeah, we will call this Shola grassland rather than lower part of the foothills, which will be Shola forests. Right? So Nil Korinji will be found in Shola grasslands of Western Ghat. Tamil Nadu, Kerala are the best places to spot it. That should not have been a reason you got it wrong. And I'm so sorry that you got it wrong because of that. हाँ मतलब वेस्टर्न घाट आपको याद था, केरला तमिलनाडु याद था, फ्लावर भी याद था, बट ये ग्रासलैंड के कारण आपने ये ऐसे क्या ही बोलूँ मैं, बट ये सही है, दिस इज ट्रू. ठीक है, lot of species have been there. Acha, by the way, I talked about CBD in the previous class. What about this question? Consider the following statements about India's updated National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan. So in the previous class I mentioned that we started with Aichi targets. And then India had a National Biodiversity Strategy Plan. And now we are into this era of Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. So we have again updated our National Biodiversity Action Plan. So yeah, first is true, it aligns with the targets of Kunming-Montreal Biodiversity Framework. That makes a lot of sense also. Why would it not? India is a signatory of the convention. India has taken initiatives to fulfill the objectives of the convention. We have legal mechanism, by the way. We have Biological Diversity Act, which we discussed in the last class, the amendment to Biological Diversity Act. That law was passed to fulfill the obligations of Convention on Biological Diversity. Second, India is legally mandated to implement all the targets of the action plan under Convention on Biological Diversity. So the convention is legally binding, but this framework and this strategy which I'm talking about, that Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, that is not legally binding. So second statement is not correct here. Okay. Convention in itself is legally binding, and even the two protocols of the convention I mentioned in the last class, Nagoya Protocol and Cartagena Protocol, both of them are legally binding. But ये जो framework है, ये legally binding नहीं है. ये जो national action plan है, ये legally binding नहीं है. This is a factual statement. What about it? This is correct. And इसमें जो trap है, वो UNDP is correct here. So you often will think that maybe it is UNEP, maybe it is CBD itself. So this is true. It is under United Nations Development Program. This was covered a lot in newspaper. That is why this fact has been added here in this statement. Biodiversity Finance Initiative is managed by UNDP. And yes, it is actively supporting many developing nations plan. One of that is India. So answer here is 1 and 3. C is the correct answer. So please read more about this National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan. I have added the topic to be prepared after every question. Another question from current affairs. क्या होगा answer? I want more. Okay. First, this is current affairs. Paudhi Bhuvan BBTG PVTG of Odisha was granted habitat rights under the Forest Rights Act. This is current affairs. This is true. Very few PVTGs. If you read Forest Rights Act, it talks about many different type of rights. It talks about individual rights, talks about community rights, and then it talks about habitat rights. Habitat rights particularly are given only and only to within scheduled tribes, a group called particularly vulnerable tribal groups. What are the characteristics of PBTGs? Economic backwardness, stagnant population, and at the time of independence also limited economic growth, particularly which is pre-agrarian in nature. That their main mode of economic activity still is pre-agrarian, which is essentially, let's say, hunting and gathering. So within scheduled tribes, you have a group which is called particularly vulnerable tribal groups. So a lot of tribal groups which used to go from one place, roam from one place to another place. And habitat right recognizes all of that. So habitat right goes beyond typical individual and community rights, and it recognizes rights over a larger place, their custom, their culture, which they have practiced for thousands of years. So for very few groups, this right has been recognized, and this was the recent current affairs and why this question has been made. So first is true. It covers not only land, but also customary territory, traditional knowledge and cultural practice. That is the definition of habitat right. They are issued by Gram Sabha, require approval from the state cabinet to take legal effect. Is this correct? Not at all. Forest Right Act, how does it function? Not state. Gram Sabha, sub-level divisional committee, district level committee. It is a 3-tier mechanism, but the top tier है वो district level committee है. State cabinet का role नहीं है यहाँ पे. In general, for Forest Rights Act, कोई भी right हो, forget about habitat right, even for others. So जो mechanism है, जो typical mechanism है, final approval can occur, let's say, under Ministry of Tribal Affairs or Ministry of Environment, Forest, Climate Change. But जो typical approval है, that involves a 3-tier mechanism. In that 3-tier mechanism, state cabinet is not involved. You have Gram Sabha, sub-level divisional committee and district level committee. So third statement is not correct. First and second are true. Answer is 1 and 2 only here. So third statement is about the governance mechanism of Forest Rights Act. How does it function? The administrative structure surrounding Forest Rights Act. This is true for any type of rights given in Forest Rights Act. Habitat right is not a type of individual right. तो land claim करने का तो मतलब ही नहीं है. Habitat right is that even if it is given across a larger patch of land, the idea here is that this land is important for your custom and your culture. It is not like claiming that this is part of your agricultural land. No, that will not be allowed, right? And it is in general true. जैसे एक जो भी claim है, that if somebody claims some individual right over a patch of land, forget about habitat right. Even that claim has to be verified, first at Gram Sabha, then at that subdivisional level, then at district level. Yeah? So yeah, you are right. For 3 generation, there is a cutoff period also by 2005. So 3 generation and cutoff period is 2005. Yeah. जो implementation of Forest Rights Act है, that is under Ministry of Tribal Affairs. बिल्कुल ये सही है. जो implementation of Forest Rights Act है, overall implementation होता है ना कि एक central law हो, तो central law का कोई मान लो अगर कुछ administrative requirements हैं, तो उसका जो implementation है for this law, the implementation is under Ministry of Tribal Affairs. This is true. Okay, ये topic आया नहीं अभी तक, and I do expect a question on this topic, वो जब भी आए. This is a very new treaty. This was signed in 2023. तो अच्छा sorry 49 हमने discuss नहीं किया. Tiger acts both as flagship and umbrella species. What is the definition of flagship? Mascot. Flagship का मतलब है a mascot for conservation. Flagship species are often chosen for their distinct feature, their attractiveness, They can be endangered, that's a separate part. But they're often chosen for their distinctive look, their attractiveness. So when, let's say, some government department, some NGO is asking public support in terms of money or any other type of support, then they can use a flagship species. So yeah, tiger is often considered a flagship species. It is also an umbrella species. Umbrella species का मतलब ये है that the habitat requirement is so large that if you are talking about conserving that species, you conserve the entire habitat, and as a result of that, you conserve many other species. Hence the name umbrella. Tiger also is a keystone species. It is a top predator, very less number, but if you remove tiger, I told you the trophic cascade in the previous session, that how trophic cascade can happen if you remove tiger, if you remove top predators from the ecosystem. So first is true. Elephant is a keystone species because its modification of habitat influences the wider ecosystem disproportionately to its abundance. Is this correct? It is correct. Elephant is a keystone species in particularly savanna. So generally when we think of keystone species, we often imagine top predators. But elephant is not a predator. Elephant is a herbivorous animal. And even then it is a keystone species. And it is a keystone species because of amensalism, by the way. Remember amensalism? A biotic interaction where one is negatively affected, another one is not affected. So as elephant tumbles upon the grasses, it essentially controls growth of many other plant species, right? So yeah, because of that, it is a keystone species. ये हमने last class में discuss किया भी था. ये गलत है. Indicator species like lichens are valuable in conservation because their high tolerance to pollution. No, the exact opposite is true. ये last class में मैंने बताया भी था, because they do not have root structure. They are dependent upon atmospheric air for many of their basic requirements. They do not have that filtration mechanism which many rooted plants will be. So third is not true, answer here is only 2. So third was an easy statement which makes this overall question not that difficult. Okay, now this. I could have made this a difficult question. So I'm very sure that all of you have got this right. But even then I would want you to look at each and every statement here and prepare it well. This is an important treaty. It was in news a lot. क्या है यहाँ पे आंसर क्या होगा? Answer is A. I imagine that all of you have got it right. So it is a legally binding UN accord aimed at protecting marine life in international water. This was a demand for many years that international waters में जो भी loss of biodiversity हो रहा है, how to protect that. So there was a convention called Marpol Convention. Marpol Convention पे भी question अभी आज का जो मैं पेपर दूंगा उसमें है question. So Marpol Convention is about shipping industry, right? But what about other type of activities, right? So there was a demand that we should have some treaty, global treaty, which is going to conserve species into global water. So yeah, first is, and this is also true, it is legally binding. So first is true, it is a legally binding treaty. It is the third implementing agreement under UNCLOS. This is also true. The first one was deep sea mining, and the second one was fishing stock. And the third one is now high seas treaty. So yeah, this is also true. It is the third implementing agreement under UNCLOS. I repeat, the first one was deep sea mining, the second one was fishing stock. It establishes rule for accessing and sharing benefits from marine genetic resources. This is also true. Third is a very important part of it. Fourth, that India has refused to sign and ratify the agreement. That is not true. As of now, India has signed the agreement. In fact, India was one of the active participants into this entire conversation. India has not ratified it because ratification will also require some changes into our domestic laws. So, but yeah, it is going to happen. Even ratification is going to happen. As of now, the status of India is that India has signed the agreement, and there is a very good chance that in coming few months, it is also going to ratify the agreement, or maybe in next few years. But India will ratify the agreement also very soon. ऐसा कोई indication India ने नहीं दिया है that we are not going to ratify the agreement. In any case, we have signed the agreement. So fourth is not true. If I look at the options, I know that only one statement is wrong here, and I have to choose that wrong statement. I have my right answer, which is A here, 1, 2, and 3. So I would want you to go and read more about this, more about the main features of this particular treaty, high seas treaty or biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction. This question, Project Lion has a statutory status same as Project Tiger, not at all. First is wrong, answer is 2 and 3. Asiatic lions are endangered under IUCN Red List, this is true. Lion and tiger दोनों का status जो है endangered है. And second जो है वो fact है which I wanted you to know, although question उस पे dependent नहीं है. If I know first is not correct, then I have my answer. But still I would want you to know, this was a recent news, that apart from Gir Forest, Barda Wildlife Sanctuary, this is also in Gujarat near Porbandar, this is going to be second home for Asiatic lion. So ये भी पता होना चाहिए, this specific information you must know, even though in this answer, sorry, when this status changed, no, आप IUCN Red List पे check करके बताओ. आप एक बार IUCN Red List, let me check it, because this is a major change which I ideally should have known. आप IUCN Red List पे देखो, not on Google, because सबसे recent, let me check this. तो जो वेस्ट अफ्रीकन लायन है उसका स्टेटस क्रिटिकली इंडेंजर्ड है. एशियाटिक लायन का इंडेंजर्ड है. IUCN रेड लिस्ट के वेबसाइट पे हूँ, ठीक है. सो इसका स्टेटस इंडेंजर्ड है. सो थर्ड इज करेक्ट, सेकेंड इज करेक्ट, फर्स्ट इज नॉट करेक्ट. प्रोजेक्ट टाइगर हैज अ स्टैट्यूटरी स्टेटस बाय द वे, अंडर विच लॉ? Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Under project, so Wildlife Protection Act was amended, Project Tiger was given a statutory status, and that led to formation of this body, National Tiger Conservation Authority, NTCA, which is a statutory body. So Project Tiger does have a statutory status. But Project Lion was just announced few years ago, I think 4-5 years ago. This does not have any statutory status as of now. Answer here is 2 and 3. 52. Factual question, but again I have tried to simplify the question the way I have arranged the option. What is the correct answer? D is the correct answer. ये आप इसलिए याद रखोगे because this is a safe alternative to diclofenac. Diclofenac is a painkiller which damages nervous system of vultures. Diclofenac is often given to cattle. Vultures are scavengers. When cattle die, vultures feed upon their meat. But if diclofenac is present in that, then vultures die. So vultures decline mostly is attributed to this painkiller called diclofenac. And now a new painkiller was approved recently, which is meloxicam. So that is why this is not random. ये जो मैंने दे रखा है यहाँ पे, ये random नहीं है. Meloxicam is a safe alternative. So second statement is not correct at all. What is dangerous here is diclofenac. Third, all vulture species critically endangered. This is what makes this statement wrong. Almost all of them are. I think one is endangered and one is vulnerable also. Most of them, their status is critically endangered. So third is wrong because of that statement, all vulture species. First is true. They are scavengers, nature's cleaner, providing critical ecosystem service by rapidly consuming carcass, which prevents the spread of diseases. That is the job of scavengers. Scavengers often are shown with bad light, but they play a very important role. So things like, जैसे for example, ढोल के बारे में आपने पढ़ा होगा, जो wild dog है, another fantastic example of scavenger. Hyenas, great example of scavengers. Vulture, hyena को हिंदी में क्या बोलते हैं? लक्कर बग्घा. So, vulture restaurants are designated feeding sites created to provide safe chemical free. Yeah, this is true. Lot of state governments, they have this initiative. If you, for example, go to Uttarakhand, Maharashtra, you have this initiative of vulture restaurants, which is a safe feeding zone for vultures. The idea here is to conserve vulture population. Answer here is 1 and 4. इसको हम कैसे देखेंगे? इस टाइप के क्वेश्चन में अब हमेशा ये आपको क्लियर है कि 2 स्टेटमेंट सही है, 2 स्टेटमेंट गलत है. ये इस टाइप के क्वेश्चन मैंने लास्ट क्लास में बताया था that if you have such type of option arrangement, then you already know this, that 2 statements are right and 2 statements are wrong. And we often have the tendency to look for wrong statement. I ask you to look for the right statement. It will be easier to do, to look for the right statement. And you will be able to eliminate lot of options just by looking at the right statement. Wrong statement अब बाद में final जो हो सकता है. बहुत बार ऐसा होगा कि खाली आपको अगर आपको right पता है, उससे भी आपका आंसर आ जाएगा. हमेशा नहीं होगा, but बहुत बार ऐसा होगा. So try to look for the right statements also in the question paper. Amur Falcon, factual question. But I know that at least one statement is wrong. Look at the option. I know that at least one statement is wrong, and I also know that at least one statement is right. Amur Falcon is a migratory bird. In fact, it is one of the longest migratory route, which starts from Siberia, goes up to, in fact, coastal regions in Africa. And yes, this is true. It is a migratory raptor. It is a bird of prey. It is a raptor. Siberia, northern China, this is true. This is a very, very important fact that in its migration route, for reasons unknown, we do not know the exact reason, it rests at Doyang Lake in Nagaland. And why this, further this information we should know, because it was hunted en masse, and because of that the bird number had declined a lot. But now some remarkable work has occurred with local community participation, and again we find more and more numbers of this bird in its migratory path. Third is not true. First and second are correct, third is not true. In both Bond Convention as well as CITES, it is in Appendix 2, not in Appendix 1. So, but in any case, even though that third is a factual statement, my answer is not dependent upon how the options are arranged. Answer here is 1 and 2 only. I will remember Karol. Abhi tak aaya nahi hai is pe. I will not be surprised if there is a question. I have made this very simple. I hope everybody got it right. क्या होगा आंसर यहाँ पे? What is it? Is it a reptile? Not at all. It is a mammal. In fact, it belongs to that medium-sized cat species. Not big cat. Not as big as tiger or lion, but it does belong to not also a small cat. A medium-sized cat species. Very famous for catching its prey in flight. अब Karol को कभी वीडियो देखना Karol का. It makes amazing turn, that 360-degree turn, and catches a prey, flying bird, while it is in the air. That's a very fantastic feature which Karol has. Second is true. So if I know first to be wrong, then I know that answer is 2 and 3. But second is also a very important fact which you should know, that the last known population of Karol is now limited to Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. So there are national parks like Ranthambore National Park or few other areas where you can still spot Karol. It is listed under Schedule 1, this is true. It has very high protection status, this is true. But least concern versus Wildlife Protection Act में Schedule 1 are two different things. Snow leopard भी least concern है, but Wildlife Protection Act में top पे Schedule 1 में है. हाँ, vulnerable है, but ठीक है, vulnerable है, but फिर भी Schedule 1 में है. तो ये जरूरी नहीं है कि just because कोई endangered हो तभी जाके वो Schedule 1 में होगा. It is more about कि इंडिया के लिए उसका status क्या है. जैसे आप एक और example में लेता हूँ. In the last class I talked about species recovery program. There are 22 species in species recovery program. And for the purpose of this program, जो environment ministry है, they call them critically endangered animals. But if you look at their IUCN status, many of them are not critically endangered. In India, we are taking initiatives to conserve them. Karol is, by the way, one of those species. Karol is part of that species recovery program. So आप ऐसे भी thumb rule की तरह देख लेना कि अगर कोई species recovery program में है, तो Schedule 1 का part होगा. ठीक है? Answer here is 1 and 2. Sorry, 2 and 3. B is the correct answer. This question. Sangai deer, this is easy. Sangai deer कहाँ पे मिलेगा? Loktak Lake, Kibul Lamjao National Park. Fumudi, that floating national park of India, the only floating national park of India. Kibul Lamjao National Park, Loktak Lake, Manipur, right? So, state animal of Manipur also. So this is easy. First is easy. This is a very famous fact. Clouded leopard, is that true? कहाँ पे है ये? मिजोरम। मिजोरम का इकलौता टाइगर रिजर्व है डंपा टाइगर रिजर्व। ये नॉर्थ ईस्ट में मिलेगा आपको, क्लाउडेड लेपर्ड नेशनल पार्क, यू विल फाइंड दिस इन नॉर्थ ईस्ट। देयर इज अ नेशनल पार्क कॉल्ड क्लाउडेड लेपर्ड नेशनल पार्क, वो कहाँ पे है? त्रिपुरा में। So I remember this also, and the reason I'm emphasizing upon this because clouded leopard is also part of species recovery program. जो 22 species हैं उसमें clouded leopard भी है. So clouded leopard जो है in India you spot this in northeast, and the best few places to spot will be, one of the best places will be Dampa Tiger Reserve. Then this is in Mizoram, and then you have clouded leopard national park which is in Tripura. What about third one? ये बर्ड कहाँ? ये बर्ड है पहले तो, कहाँ पे मिलेगा आपको बर्ड इंडिया में? वेस्टर्न घाट में नहीं मिलेगा, ये अंडमान निकोबार में मिलेगा. दिस इज इन इंडिया, इट इज एंडेमिक टू अंडमान एंड निकोबार. देयर इज अ रीजन व्हाई इट इज कॉल्ड एडिबल नेस्ट, because its nest is actually edible. It uses its saliva to make its nest, and it is very sweet, and it is considered a delicacy. So in local cuisine, that nest is considered delicacy. Right? So yeah, it is a nocturnal bird found in Andaman and Nicobar. Bandipur National Park is in Karnataka. So that is of course wrong. Answer here is 1 and 2 only. All of these three species are important. Sangai deer, clouded leopard, edible nest swiftlet. All three of them are part of species recovery program. Okay, this is easy. Okay, I thought this is easy. Should like first line give away bamboo, red panda. So answer is red panda, not Hulok gibbon. The answer is red panda. The species live in high altitude temperate forest with bamboo understories. By the way, this is the reason we call it red panda. It also looks similar to the great panda found in China, but it is a distinct species. It should be very clear that the great panda found in China and red panda found in northeast, they are different species. They are nocturnal, right? Crepuscular का मतलब होता है कि mostly during twilight time. ये UPSC ने swamp deer को लेके गलत करा रखा है एक बार. Swamp deer is again active in twilight time. So but nocturnal उन्होंने दे रखा था और उन्होंने स्टेटमेंट को गलत मान लिया. सब आंसर की में दे रखा था कि वो सही है. Anyways, and some of the best places to spot them, yeah, all of this. So Singalia National Park, Neora Valley, ये दोनों कहाँ पे होंगे? West Bengal. Both of these national parks are in West Bengal. Kanchenjunga, Nokrek, Meghalaya. So these are some of the best places to spot red panda. Very famous for expanding its paws when it feels threatened to appear more dangerous than it is. And it appears more cute, by the way. Have you seen a red panda trying to threaten you? You'll find that this is such a cute animal. So yeah, anyways, the answer here is red panda. Not musk deer, not Hulok gibbon, not swamp deer. They are. But बाकी जो नहीं, बट हुलक गिबॉन का पर्टिकुलरली जो न्यूरा वैली एंड जो वेस्ट बंगाल में जो है ये वाला वो है यहाँ पे, हम वहाँ से भी हटा सकते हैं हुलक गिबॉन को, ठीक है. Not subspecies of bear, closely related to bear but not subspecies of bear. ठीक है. ये 57 क्यों है क्वेश्चन? Because of third statement. This is the latest biosphere reserve which also has been added into UNESCO map program. So yeah, third is true. It is recently included in UNESCO World Network of Biosphere Reserve, and that is why this question is there. First is true. It is located in Spiti Valley, Himachal Pradesh. And second is also true. It includes Spin Valley National Park and Kibir Wildlife Sanctuary. All of this is factual information and all of these are important facts. ये इस साल नेक्स्ट साल ये क्वेश्चन आएगा. देखो बायोस्फीयर रिजर्व पे कोई भी जब ये यूनेस्को का पार्ट बनेगी मैप प्रोग्राम का, दिस ऑटोमेटिकली बिकम्स एन इंपॉर्टेंट थीम. दिस इज अगेन इजी. Valley of Flowers National Park, what will be the answer? All three are correct. Answer is 1, 2 and 3. It is located in Chamoli district of Uttarakhand. Even if you remember Uttarakhand, it's fine. ठीक है. UPSC will not make, वैसे करने के लिए देखो कर ही सकती है कि गलत डिस्ट्रिक्ट देखे उन्होंने गलत करा दिया, बट जनरली ये नहीं होगा. जनरली UPSC will give you state. So Second, together with adjoining Nanda Devi National Park, it forms Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve. This is true. And yes, it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. That is also true. Answer, this is easy. So prepare important national park and particularly UNESCO World Heritage Sites of India. Okay, few questions from aquatic ecosystems. Kutanad recently in news as one of the India's Ramsar site is best known for which of the features? क्या होगा answer? B. Few regions in the world where farming is carried out below sea level. You should also know a related topic from this, that this place is part of what is called globally important agricultural heritage sites, which is declared by FAO. So FAO declares certain practices of agriculture which has been happening for centuries, and people have doing agriculture without compromising the ecosystem integrity of the surrounding. So people have been able to fulfill their requirements without damaging the ecosystem. Such type of agricultural practices which have happened for many, many years, they are recognized by FAO as globally important agricultural heritage site. And in India, there are 3 such places. Kutanad is one of them, Koraput in Odisha, that is second. This is in Kerala, by the way. And then you have saffron cultivation in Jammu and Kashmir. ये भी हम याद रखेंगे as a separate information apart from this. क्या होगा आंसर? Global Wetland Outlook Report. Wetlands worldwide are being lost at rate approximately 3 times faster than forest. Wetlands store more carbon per unit area than most terrestrial ecosystem, making their loss a significant contribution to greenhouse gas emission. Both are true, but second is not a explanation. Answer is B here. ठीक है? Both are true, by the way. First is true, second is also true. अमृत धरोहर स्कीम, this was launched recently. बहुत easy question भी यहाँ पे easy है. क्या होगा आंसर? Both 1 and 2. Announced to promote unique conservation value of Ramsar site and seeks to integrate ecological, economic, cultural values of wetlands through community participation. That is the integral component of Amrit Dharohar scheme. Answer is both 1 and 2. तो scheme वाले question आ ही सकता है, and this was recently in news. 62. क्या होगा आंसर? अनुराग क्या मार्क किया? गेस करो क्या होगा? टेक रिस्क. आपने क्या किया? Okay, look at this question. ये एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्ट आप याद रखोगे, that मैंग्रोव्स जो हैं उनका रेट ऑफ कार्बन सिक्वेस्ट्रेशन हाईएस्ट है. नॉट द टोटल, आई एम नॉट सेइंग टोटल कार्बन स्टोर्ड. रेट का मतलब यहां पे ये है पर यूनिट एरिया इन अ स्पेसिफिक टाइम. हाउ मच कार्बन मैंग्रोव कैन स्टोर is much more than tropical rainforests or any other type of forest. And not just mangrove, turns out that even sea grasses and salt marshes, they can store huge amount of carbon. Mangrove has the highest, but even sea grasses and salt marshes, all 3 of them are marine ecosystem, and all 3 of them are known to sequester huge amount of carbon. And such type of stored carbon, that is called blue carbon. Okay. So first statement is true, that mangroves, sea grasses, salt marshes, 3 distinct ecosystems are blue carbon ecosystems recognized by International Climate Framework. Blue carbon means carbon stored in marine ecosystem. So first is true. Blue carbon ecosystem sequester carbon mainly in their above ground biomass similar to terrestrial forest. Not at all. This is not at all correct. A larger part of this biomass is stored actually inside water. The oxygen rich environment in these ecosystems help in sequestering carbon at high rate. This is also wrong. The exact opposite is true. The reason I said, I will go back to the basic of carbon cycle. Look at some of the natural processes. Ignore combustion. Look at the 3 natural processes in carbon cycle. Photosynthesis, respiration, decomposition. ये 3 natural process हैं. Respiration stores carbon, decomposition and photosynthesis stores carbon, respiration decomposition releases carbon back to the atmosphere. Respiration always requires oxygen, we know that. Decomposition can happen in presence of oxygen, that is called aerobic, but can also happen in the absence of oxygen, that is called anaerobic. Anaerobic decomposition releases methane, does not release CO2, that releases methane. But most of the decomposing organisms, चाहे वो bacteria हो या fungi हो, they are aerobic. A very few fraction of bacteria and fungi can do decomposition anaerobically. So जहाँ पे भी बहुत सारा पानी accumulate हो रखा है, वहाँ पे ऑक्सीजन कहाँ आएगा? पानी में ऑक्सीजन कम होगा. There is a reason why आपका जो इंडोर प्लांट है, आप उसमें डेली पानी डाल दोगे सूख जाएगा. Think about it. I hope those who have done indoor gardening, they know this, that if you plant your indoor plant daily, it is going to dry up. What is happening there? Remember, plants can take CO2 from the atmosphere, but they cannot take O2 from the atmosphere. O2 कहाँ से आता है? From roots. They take oxygen in the pores of the soil and they take oxygen from those roots. If you plant water daily, then those pores are being closed by water. Plants cannot take oxygen, but even plants need respiration during night. दिन में photosynthesis, but रात में तो respiration चाहिए. But respiration के लिए oxygen चाहिए. So the reason why such type of marine ecosystems like mangroves or seagrasses and salt marshes, they store such huge amount of carbon because oxygen की कमी है. And oxygen की कमी होने का मतलब ये है कि जो aerobic decomposition है, which otherwise would have released that biomass into CO2 back to the atmosphere, that happens at very low rate. Whatever does happen is anaerobic, but anaerobic organisms जो हैं वो कम है, aerobic organisms ज़्यादा हैं. So the reason rate of carbon sequestration is very high is because of poor oxygen environment. So third statement is not correct. Second statement is not correct. First statement is correct. Answer here is one only. Okay? So this is not a factual question at all. In general, I expect sometime in future a question that which of the following ecosystem has the highest rate of carbon sequestration, and answer will be mangrove forest. And the reason will be oxygen poor environment and lot of biomass accumulating into ecosystems. More than peatland. Peatland comes very close, but more than peatland. Total amount of CO2. Again, ये दो चीजें अलग अलग चीजें हैं. Total CO2 versus rate of CO2 sequestration. Oceans. Peatland will be more again, but the rate of carbon sequestration, that is maximum in case of mangrove forest. Okay. ये बिल्कुल ही factual question है. This is one of those questions, if you are not very clear about things, you should not attempt them. Third, I hope you knew this. कोई भी इस टाइप का नोटिफिकेशन हो, वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट रूल हो, CRZ नोटिफिकेशन हो, EIA नोटिफिकेशन हो, साउंड पोल्यूशन रूल्स हो, ओजोन पोल्यूशन रूल्स हो, all of these are notified under Environment Protection Act. There is a reason why Environment Protection Act is considered law of laws. That within this law, multiple other laws have been passed, multiple other rules have been passed. So third is true. Tourism infrastructure resorts can be permitted in CRZ1. अगर आप देखोगे coastal regulation zone notification, then जो भी coastal areas में region उनको हम 4 पार्ट में बांटते हैं, and within those 4 parts there are further sub parts. तो जो CRZ1 है ये सबसे ज़्यादा ecologically sensitive area है, and यहाँ पे बहुत सारा construction ban होगा, including resorts and large tourism infrastructure. Second statement is not true. The no development zone for dense populated rural area has been reduced from 200 meter to 50 meter. This was a criticism that अभी तक ये था कि 200 मीटर तक अब हाई टाइड लाइन से कोई कंस्ट्रक्शन नहीं कर सकते, अब जो है वो 50 मीटर उसको कर दिया है फॉर दोज एरियाज जहाँ पे रूरल पॉपुलेशन बहुत ज़्यादा है, to allow some sort of developmental activity. This was a criticism against this notification in 2019. So first is true here, second is not at all true, third is true, answer here is only 2. ये आप ऐसे याद रखना कि ये जो लॉ है, जो भी रूल्स हम देखते हैं, कोई भी इन्वायरमेंट रूल आप देखते हो, दोज रूल्स जनरली विल बी पास्ड अंडर इन्वायरमेंट प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट 1986. ये इजी है, क्या होगा आंसर? सॉरी, I want more responses. Living shorelines. This is an example of nature-based solution. Answer is B. So ये आप as a keyword आप mains के लिए भी याद रखना. जब भी डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट पे क्वेश्चन आए और जब आएगा ना सोल्यूशन की हम बात करते हैं, सो वन सोल्यूशन यू कैन ऑलवेज प्रपोज इज नेचर बेस्ड सोल्यूशन. तो देयर आर लॉट ऑफ नेचुरल इकोसिस्टम्स विच प्रोटेक्ट्स अस. हमको बस ये करना है कि हमको उनको डिस्ट्रॉय नहीं होने देना है. वी डू नॉट हैव टू डिस्ट्रॉय देम. जैसे अभी आप एक सिंपल सा एग्जांपल ले लो, अभी आपने न्यूज़ में पढ़ा होगा कि जो 40 हॉटेस्ट सिटीज इन दी वर्ल्ड हैं वो इंडिया में है. एंड उसका बहुत बड़ा कारण है वो हमारा जो ग्रीन कवर लॉस है, एंड दैट कॉन्ट्रीब्यूट्स टू दैट अर्बन हीट आइलैंड इफेक्ट, राइट. सो natural ecosystem protects us from lot of extreme weather events. So mangroves, oyster reefs, salt marshes, they protect us from coastal erosion. They protect us from storm surges, from cyclones. So answer here is B, and that is called living shoreline. Okay. So this is as a keyword, please remember even this for mains examination, not just for prelims. इसका क्या आंसर होगा? ये करंट अफेयर्स है. मेनी ऑफ देम हैव बीन रिसेंटली नोटिफाइड. अष्टमुडी, दैट इज इन केरला, राइट. वेम्बनाथ के बाद सेकेंड जो लार्जेस्ट वेटलैंड ऑफ केरला है वो ये है. वेम्बनाथ इन इट सेल्फ इज व्हाट? सेकेंड लार्जेस्ट. सुंदरबन, वेम्बनाथ एंड देन चिल्का लेक. दीज आर द 3 लार्जेस्ट रामसर साइट्स ऑफ इंडिया. सो वेम्बनाथ के बाद जो सेकेंड लार्जेस्ट रामसर साइट ऑफ केरला है वो अष्टमुडी है. सो दिस इज फर्स्ट इज ट्रू. Second is in Tamil Nadu. That was recently notified. And third also is in Tamil Nadu. Answer here is only 2. First is not correct. Answer is only 2. But this is a factual question. In such type of question, you should be very careful if you do not know all the facts. तो अभी तो चलो मॉक पेपर है, यूपीएससी में भी आप इसका ध्यान रखोगे. That random जहाँ पे facts clear नहीं हो, रिस्क लेने से पहले थोड़ा हम सोचेंगे. अच्छा, ये क्वेश्चन आ ही गया. Mangroves and seagrasses beds are increasingly being integrated into India's strategy to meet updated NDC under the Paris Agreement. Per unit area, mangroves can sequester carbon at rates several times higher than most tropical terrestrial forests. This is true, and that is also an explanation of statement 1. India has the largest contiguous mangrove cover in the world, located in the Sundarbans Delta region. That is also true. India and Bangladesh together, but ठीक है. India ये भी true है, but answer is B. Third is not a explanation. Explanation जो है वो second है. That why mangroves are being explored. So answer here is B. Both 2 and 3 are correct, but one of them explains statement 1, and that is statement 2 in this case. कहाँ पे? अच्छा, पर्पस क्या है? अच्छा, ओके, ठीक है. That can also be a good example. ये easy है. This is very easy. Eutrophication caused by agricultural runoff rich in nitrogen and phosphorus is a major driver of algal blooms in wetland, and that algal bloom can become harmful algal bloom. Invasive aquatic plants such as water hyacinth reduces dissolved oxygen and degrade wetland habitat. That is also true. Encroachment for urban development is the leading cause of wetland loss in Indian cities. That is also true. Answer is, so this is a very easy straightforward question. Answer here is D, 1, 2 and 3. Last few questions of this paper. Fourth coral bleaching event. इसमें एक factual statement है, 2 factual statement है एक तरीके से, तीनों ही है, but third फिर भी third फिर भी आप guess कर सकते हो. The point is कि third जो है उसको guess किया जा सकता है. All 4 major coral reef regions of India have reported bleaching. Yeah, India is not an exception. Third is true. Bleaching has been recorded across more than 80% of the world's coral reef. That is also true. Answer is all 3. And second is also true. So second is a fact that ये जो bleaching event है, this was confirmed by National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration USA in collaboration with International Coral Reef Initiative, which is a environmental group regarding preservation of coral reef. So answer here is all 3. यहाँ पे क्या होगा आंसर? ये ज्योग्राफी का क्वेश्चन है वैसे, बट ये बेसिक क्वेश्चन है, पता होना चाहिए कोरल रीफ्स के बारे में. क्या होगा आंसर? Only 2. Lakshadweep is atoll, yes. Gulf of Mannar is fringing, yes, but Gulf of Kutch is also mostly fringing. So fringing, atoll. So answer here is only 2. Third is not correct, right? तो ये ज्योग्राफी का क्वेश्चन है वैसे, बट नॉनदलेस वी शुड नो अबाउट कोरल रीफ्स ऑफ इंडिया एंड व्हाट टाइप ऑफ रीफ दे आर. 70. इसका क्या होगा आंसर? Ocean acidification is caused by absorption of atmospheric CO2 by seawater, leading to formation of carbonic acid. That's very obvious. H2CO3, H2O plus CO2, H2CO3. Okay. Acidification reduces the availability of carbonate ions in seawater, making it harder for shellfish, corals, and certain planktons to build calcium carbonate. That shell formation is negatively affected. That is also true. आप बता सकते हो. The average surface ocean pH has dropped from 8.2 to 6.2. Not at all. How much it has dropped? Do you know this answer? It has dropped, the average value has dropped from 8.2 to 8.1, 0.1. In percentage, how much acidification has increased? Who will answer this question? I will give you 15 seconds. In percentage, this drop of 8.2 to 8.1, in percentage, how much percentage of acidification, acidity has, how much percentage acidity has increased? So this is the reason I asked this question. Remember, pH is a logarithmic scale. And logarithmic scale means that it is about 26% increase. That average value, which was 8.2 at pre-industrial level, right now is 8.1. But pH is a logarithmic scale. It is not a linear scale. It is a logarithmic scale. And as a result of that, if you do this calculation, it will be almost 30% increase. Ocean water का जो acidification है, that has increased by almost 30%. 6.2 पे marine organisms जिंदा नहीं रहेंगे. 6.2 का मतलब है कि ocean water has become now acidic. 7 is pure water, less than 7 is acidic. 6.2 पे marine organisms cannot survive. 99.9% of marine organisms will die if this average drops below 7. So thankfully it is still 8.1. But even that 8.2 to 8.1 सुनने में ऐसा लगेगा कि बहुत ही कम ड्रॉप है और बहुत कम इंक्रीज है, but this is an increase of about 26%. The reason is pH is a logarithmic scale. It is not a linear scale to measure hydrogen concentration. ये आप बचपन में हम केमिस्ट्री में पढ़ते हैं. This question, my personal pat on the back if you get this right. What is the correct answer? I want more responses. Sea level rise happens because of two reasons. It happens because of pouring of fresh water, and it happens because of thermal expansion of water. Both of this contributes to sea level rise. That is thermal expansion of water. As water heats up, it expands, and as fresh water pours into ocean, layer is going to increase. क्या होगा आंसर? Marine water expands as it heats up due to global warming, and global mean sea level has risen by 20 centimeter, more than 20 centimeters since pre-industrial level. First is true, by the way. First is true. Third is correct explanation. Second is not. Why second is not a correct explanation? Fresh water versus sea water. This is very important. Arctic, larger part of Arctic is ocean. Larger part of Arctic ice, it's sea ice. There is a reason I have mentioned this word sea ice. आप ऐसे समझ लो कि पानी में ऑलरेडी बर्फ है और वो बर्फ पिघल गया, तो you already had ice there. Whatever layer was there because of that ice, when that ice melts, that layer will remain the same. So Arctic is part of that global oceanic system, and the Arctic ice is part of that global oceanic system. The melting of Arctic sea ice, I again emphasize upon this. This is very crucial and a very specific niche point. The melting of Arctic sea ice does not increase sea level. The melting of fresh ice found again in Arctic region, the thawing of permafrost, ice sheet disintegration of Greenland, melting of Antarctica, glacier, all of that contributes to sea level rise. All of that is fresh water. That was not part of the ocean, and that is being poured because of melting of ice. So ये बहुत ही specific point है that जो Arctic sea ice है, that already is part of the ocean, and that melt is not going to increase to the sea level. But yeah, अगर same statement ऐसे हो कि the melting of ice in the entire Arctic region does not contribute to sea level rise, that will be wrong. Because you do have fraction of ice which will be because of fresh water. There is a lot of snow, lot of permafrost in Arctic region, and that melting will contribute to sea level rise. यहाँ पे जो आंसर है C है. Statement 3 is the correct explanation of statement 1. यहीं पे अगर मैं Arctic sea ice के बजाय अगर मैं glacier और ice sheet of Greenland, ice sheet of Western Antarctica, ये सब snow melt, permafrost thaw, ये सब अगर मैं लिखता, then that would have been correct, and would also be the correct explanation of statement 1. So remember, there are two main reasons of sea level rise: melting of ice from fresh water, and second, thermal expansion of water itself. So answer here is C. क्या होगा आंसर? ये इजी है. इस पे देखो, इस साल लायक अभी आएगा ही क्वेश्चन है. समुद्रयान प्रोजेक्ट पे देयर इज गोइंग टू बी अ क्वेश्चन, इंडियाज डीप ओशन मिशन. आंसर हियर इज ऑल ऑफ द अबव. इट इज बीइंग implemented by Ministry of Earth Sciences, that is true. Under National Institute of Ocean Technology, that is also true. Samudrayan is a submersible component at the depth of 6,000 meter, and Matsya 6000 is indigenously developed submersible vehicle being built for Samudrayan project. All three are correct here. हाँ, it is three people can serve, three people can be part of this. Yeah, that is there. Coral reef पे एक और क्वेश्चन है. ये लास्ट क्वेश्चन है कोरल रीफ का, आई थिंक. Reef building corals require warm, shallow, clear, well-lit water with stable salinity. That is a feature of corals. Corals can only survive in very limited range of condition, limited range of temperature, salinity, pH, all of that. Although coral reefs cover less than 1%, they support around 25% of all marine species. This is a fact about coral reef we all must know. All coral species found in any part of the ocean rely on symbiotic zooxanthellae. Not at all. There are deep sea corals. They do not require, deep sea में ऐसे भी photosynthesis आप नहीं कर सकते, so they do not need that zooxanthellae. So you do have deep sea corals which do not require that symbiotic association. Third statement is not correct. First statement is correct. Second statement is correct. Answer is 1 and 2. Corals are animals. So chemosynthesis is done by bacteria. Deep sea corals mostly rely upon the falling fragments of marine organisms in the ocean and the food chain which exists because of chemosynthesis. Sorry? Hydrothermal vents care around chemosynthesis, but chemosynthesis is essentially being done by bacteria, and those bacteria can be found inside like some of the other species. Some of them can be corals, but corals themselves do not do chemosynthesis. You had a question. Like corals नहीं करते chemosynthesis. Corals बहुत integral part है coral synthesis का. There are many marine organisms, जैसे जो bacteria हैं, bacteria are very small. Ocean water even in deep is dynamic enough कि bacteria survive नहीं कर सकते, एक जगह पे रुक नहीं सकते. अब hydrothermal vent जहाँ पे है, where let's say lot of nutrients are coming up, there are bacteria which are found in the tissues of other organisms, and that becomes a very good mutualistic relationship. The chemosynthesis is done by bacteria. Bacteria are getting shelter from this species, which can be coral, and bacteria can do chemosynthesis, which provides nutritional requirement to this species. But more than corals, there are organisms called tubers, which essentially carry that bacteria inside their tissue. Right? So in any case, deep sea corals, they do not require zooxanthellae. Zooxanthellae is a algae. It is a producer which is known to do photosynthesis. In deeper part of the ocean, you cannot do photosynthesis because you simply do not have sunlight, right? ओके, कीमोसिंथेसिस में ब्रेकिंग डाउन ऑफ ऑर्गेनिक कंपाउंड नहीं है, कीमोसिंथेसिस में मेकिंग ऑफ ऑर्गेनिक कंपाउंड है फ्रॉम इनऑर्गेनिक कंपाउंड्स इन द एब्सेंस ऑफ सनलाइट. Let's define chemosynthesis properly. Chemosynthesis is formation of organic molecule from inorganic compounds in the absence of sunlight. जो एनर्जी लेकिन जो चाहिए वो कहाँ से आएगा, वो आएगा हाइड्रोथर्मल वेंट से. So you still have that CO2, H2O, hydrogen sulfide which is coming from that vent, heat energy which is coming from that vent, and in the presence of that heat energy, CO2, H2O, H2S can form carbohydrate. So chemosynthesis is formation of carbohydrate in the absence of sunlight. This happens into deep ocean, deep cave, below the soil. Lot of organisms are capable of doing this. Chemosynthesis is not breaking down of organic matter. It is formation of organic matter. ठीक है? Any other question? ये 74 ये easy है. इसका क्या होगा आंसर? B. मैग्नीज, निकल, कोबाल्ट एंड कॉपर. ये है मेन पर्पस पॉलीमेटालिक नोड्यूल्स का एक्सप्लोर करने का. अच्छा, सॉरी, देयर इज वन मोर क्वेश्चन ऑन कोरल. टू मेनी क्वेश्चंस ऑन कोरल. होपफुली देयर इज एटलीस्ट वन क्वेश्चन इन यूपीएससी एग्जामिनेशन. टू मेनी क्वेश्चंस ऑन कोरल. ये इजी है. क्या होगा आंसर? रीड द क्वेश्चन. आप लोग करके आए नहीं हो. आई अज्यूम दैट आप करके आए हो घर से. क्या होगा आंसर? ए. आंसर इज ए. बोथ आर करेक्ट एंड स्टेटमेंट 2 इज द करेक्ट एक्सप्लेनेशन ऑफ स्टेटमेंट 1. 76. दिस इज फैक्चुअल फ्रॉम करंट अफेयर्स. ये करंट अफेयर्स आईपीसीसी रिपोर्ट का असेसमेंट है. क्या होगा आंसर यहाँ पे? बोथ 1 and 2. एंड जो सेकेंड का जो मेन रीजन है वो अगेन थर्मल एक्सपेंशन है. ये जो सेकेंड स्टेटमेंट है, लुक एट द सेकेंड स्टेटमेंट. सी लेवल राइज इन नॉर्दर्न इंडियन ओशन हैज बीन ऑब्जर्व्ड to occur at a rate distinctly higher than global average. And that is not because of that melting of glacier and all of that. That is mostly because of thermal expansion of water. So answer here is both 1 and 2. And yes, among Indian coastal states, Sundarban regions of West Bengal and Bay of Bengal, coast of Odisha, are highly exposed to sea level rise and storm surges. That is because of the geography of Bay of Bengal itself. I think this is the last question. ये भी इजी है. इसका क्या होगा आंसर? डीप सी माइनिंग कैन डिस्टर्ब फ्रेजाइल एबिसल इकोसिस्टम. एबिसल इकोसिस्टम is in that intermediate water. Benthing is that deeper water, right? So abyssal ecosystem where species often have slow growth rate, limited recovery capacity. This is true. Species which have adapted to live in this abyssal ecosystem, it is thousands and millions of years of adaptation, and they do not have capability to recover themselves very quickly if ecosystem is damaged and is changing significantly. And sediment plumes generated during nodule collection can spread over hundreds of kilometers, smothering benthic life. Benthic ka matlab species found in the deeper part of the ocean. Both 1 and 2, that is correct here. Okay, I have one more test paper which I have given you. This you can attempt in the class because घर पे तो आप करके आए नहीं थे. तो आप this is only and only on one topic, pollution. ये आज के डिस्कशन का लास्ट पार्ट है. ये सिर्फ पोल्यूशन एंड वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट के क्वेश्चंस हैं यहाँ पे. देयर आर अबाउट 29 क्वेश्चंस. हम इसको 3 पार्ट में कर सकते हैं. 10, 10, 9 कर सकते हैं. सॉल्व 10 क्वेश्चंस, देन वी विल डिस्कस. देन अगेन सॉल्व 10 क्वेश्चंस एंड देन रिमेनिंग 9 क्वेश्चंस. So solve question number 1 to 10. I will give you 12 minutes. Let me show the question here also. क्या क्या सॉरी? अगर ये न्यूज़ में तो जा सकते हैं. क्वेश्चन ये है दैट इन कन्वेंशंस, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल मार्पोल का जो 6th एनेक्स है उसको हमने रेटिफाई किया, तो ये न्यूज़ में है तो हम जा सकते हैं. अगर न्यूज़ में नहीं है तो नहीं, कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है. दैट डिपेंड्स अपॉन करंट अफेयर्स. वॉज इट कवर्ड प्रोमिनेंटली इन टू न्यूज़ पेपर्स? देखो इतना तो करेंगे ना, मतलब इतना हम करेंगे. अब यूपीएससी तो पूछ ही सकती है. इवन इफ समथिंग इज नॉट इन न्यूज़, इट इज़ टोटली अप टू देम. बट इसका फिर लिमिट नहीं है दैट हम कहाँ पे फिर हम रुकेंगे, कहाँ पे हमारा जो स्टडी है वो स्टॉप होगा. तो वो फिर कहीं ना कहीं भी तो लिमिट करना पड़ेगा, राइट? मतलब इतना तो आई डोंट थिंक इतना जानने की हमको ज़रूरत है. Okay, enough time. This will be factual. This is a very factual part of overall your syllabus, environment syllabus. National Clean Air Program. It is a legally binding statutory program. यहीं पे गलत है. No, it is not. It is a program. It is not a legally binding statutory program under Air Pollution Act, giving the CPCB enforcement power to penalize defaulting cities. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. It is not a statutory program. CPCB is the implementing body of this program, but does not have the power to penalize city which do not follow this. The revised target is 40% reduction in particulate matter concentration. Yeah, that is true. There are some 130 non-attainment cities. How these non-attainment cities have been defined? Based on PM 2.5 and PM 10 concentration, that continuously for last 4-5 years, continuously जो भी हमारा national ambient air quality standard है, जो कि essentially decides what is the safe level of concentration of a particular pollutant versus what is the actual data from these cities. So if that consistent air pollutant level, and only for particulate matter by the way, for the purpose of this program, we only talk about particulate matter. So then those cities will be called non-attainment cities. There are about 130 such non-attainment cities, and the goal here is that we have to make a city-specific plan to understand the source of pollution for that city and how to tackle that problem specifically there. And third, PRAN is a portal for managing and monitoring the implementation of NCAP. This is true. You should know that. आप website पे जाना NCAP के पहला जो line आपको दिखेगा वो यहीं दिखेगा. That जो PRAN है, that is the implementing portal for NCAP. Answer here is only 2. First is not correct here. This is an important program. Mains में 2 बार आ चुका है ये, prelims में भी आ रखा है और आगे भी आएगा. This is a very important program. हमेशा ही news में रहता है. And air pollution हमेशा news में रहता है. So we should know about National Clean Air Program also. Okay, volatile organic compounds. I feel like that UPSC has not asked a dedicated question on this, even though they often remain in news so much, and that is why I have like 2 questions on this theme. What will be the answer to second? They are a group of carbon containing chemicals that readily evaporate at room temperature and pressure. That is the meaning of the word volatile. Volatile का मतलब यही है कि at room temperature and pressure, right, they readily evaporate. They contribute to the formation of ground level ozone and secondary organic aerosol. Yeah, that is true. So organic ozone is a secondary pollutant, oxides of nitrogen and volatile organic compounds. These are the precursor of ozone formation. So yeah, that is true. There are no known natural sources of VOC, not at all. Volatile organic compounds can happen because of many natural sources. Right? For example, forest fire, volcanic eruption, a lot of things can cause volatile organic compounds. So ये बिल्कुल ही गलत है. Answer here is only 2. Question 3. All three. So formaldehyde, acetone, xylene, toluene, benzene, all of these are example of volatile organic compound. Methane is not. Methane, even though is a hydrocarbon, generally many hydrocarbons are called volatile organic compounds, but methane is not considered into this category. अगर एग्जाम में methane आए तो उसको आप गलत करके आ सकते हो. That for in general methane is not considered a volatile organic compound. But the most famous one will be formaldehyde, benzene, toluene, xylene, acetone. These are some of the examples of VOCs. Source क्या होगा? What are the main anthropogenic sources? Sorry? Paints, perfect. Paints are one of the most common source, that is perfect. Varnishing of wood, furniture manufacturing, burning of things. Remember, burning of biomass coal will cause all sort of pollutant, will also cause volatile organic compound. So burning of biomass coal to hoga hi hoga, but things like paint, varnishing, these things, printing, jo Xerox shop hai, all of these things, they also produce lot of dyeing industry produce lot of volatile organic compounds. Okay, question 4. I have simplified it. It could have been a difficult question. What is the answer? What did you mark? 1 only is the correct answer. Had I given the option 1, 2 and 3, this would have been more difficult question. So I wanted you to know that at least one statement is wrong here. Again, I am following that at least one statement is wrong and at least one is right. So it is used for controlling oxides of nitrogen, that is true. That is the purpose of selective catalytic or non-catalytic reduction. Every word has a meaning here. Selective का मतलब ये है, जैसे मान लो vehicles की हम बात करते हैं. In vehicles, lot of pollutants are being produced in the engine. When petrol or diesel burns, lot of pollutants are being produced. Selectively, I have to filter NO2. So that is the meaning of the word selective. Catalytic का मतलब है that this reaction requires a catalyst, and reduction का मतलब ये है that if NO2, oxygen is being removed from it, then NO2 is getting reduced. So that is the meaning of the word reduction. So first is true. The reducing agent in SCR system, the reducing agent is vanadium pentoxide or titanium oxide. The catalyst is aqueous. This has been interchanged. So the reducing agent is urea. The reaction is actually quite simple. आप घर पे balance कर लेना. But reaction will look something like this. It will be either NO or NO2 plus NH3, and that will come from that aqueous urea in the presence of catalyst, which will be vanadium pentoxide or titanium dioxide, and that will produce N2 plus water vapor, which is not a pollutant, and this is not a pollutant. So this is the mechanism. ये याद नहीं रखना. Do not have to memorize this chemical reaction. I simply wanted to emphasize that ये जो ammonia है, that is coming from that aqueous solution of urea, and ये जो है ये catalyst है. So I have simply exchanged it. One only is the correct answer here. ठीक है? First thing first, why I have asked this specific pollutant benzopyrene. I want you to first give me that where have you come across benzopyrene as a pollutant in your study of environment subject. So please go and revise your national ambient air quality standards, not national air quality index. If you look at national air quality index, you have 8 pollutants. याद है सबको पता होगा. But then you go national ambient air quality standards. Index तो है तो बहुत ही simplified version है. Index में लोगों को popularly बताने के लिए हमने 0 to 50, 50 to 100 बना रखा है. But जो actual information है, that what is the concentration of a particular pollutant, per meter cube कितना microgram concentration है, कितना maximum होना चाहिए for good air quality. Ideally तो 0 होना चाहिए, but चलो up till some level we can tolerate. Versus how much it is. So how much level is considered that ठीक है, this is manageable. That program of CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board, is called National Ambient Air Quality Standard. And that has 12 pollutants. 8 of them which are part of Air Quality Index, but there are 4 more. Benzene is one of them. Benzopyrene is another. What are 2 other? Arsenic and nickel. So these 4 pollutants which are part of National Ambient Air Quality Standard, but are not part of National Air Quality Index. So one is benzene, benzopyrene, arsenic and nickel. Okay. Benzopyrene is polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon formed during incomplete combustion of organic matter. This is true. Incomplete combustion of any type of, not just coal by the way, even incomplete combustion of any type of biomass, that produces benzopyrene. Second statement is not at all true. It is not directly carcinogenic. No. Benzopyrene in itself is stable. But if we do inhale benzopyrene, there are certain enzymes in our body which reacts with benzopyrene, and that substance essentially becomes carcinogen. Carcinogen means something which can cause cancer. So benzopyrene is not directly carcinogenic, does not directly bind to DNA. It does require an enzyme. So such type of material are called pro-carcinogen. Even though they are not directly carcinogen, they are pro-carcinogen. अगर ये statement आए state exam में that benzopyrene can cause cancer, mark it correct. वो correct है. But this goes deeper into the mechanism of cancer causing process. So in that sense, the second statement is not correct. Answer here is one only. I want more responses. Answer is C. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. जो third है, हाँ third भी सही है. Third may seem like a counterintuitive fact, but it is true, and I will tell you why it is true. पहले तो I hope everybody is very clear about first. It is a secondary pollutant. That is, it is not directly emitted by any source. This is true. Formed when NOx, VOC react in the presence of sunlight. That is also true. Fourth, ozone damages plant tissues by entering through stomata. This is true. Fifth, ozone is a greenhouse gas, contributes to global warming. That is also true. Tropospheric ozone. That is also true. So 1, 2, 4, 5, that is true. 3 is true because ozone is also destroyed from NO. So use of automobiles that releases NO and NO2. So while NOx is responsible for formation of ozone, that NO2 in the presence of sunlight becomes NO plus O, and that O can react with oxygen to make ozone. So while NO2, but NO also causes destruction of ozone. Now NO emission happens a lot in cities because of vehicular emission, but in rural areas you do not have the same level of NO emission. And as a result of that, this is a counterintuitive fact, but this is true, that ozone concentration in rural areas downside of cities, like city के surrounding जो rural areas हैं, not some remote rural area. So city के around जो rural areas हैं, वहाँ पे जो ozone concentration is higher compared to the city itself, which is a problem because most of the gases, that NOx gases, are being produced into cities. So the equilibrium occurs in a way that the destruction of ozone occurs at lower rate than formation of ozone in case of those downwind of cities, rural areas downwind of cities. And as a result of that, this is true. Answer here is C, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So that is why I gave this specific fact. Yeah, go ahead. Ozone. Okay, so the question, I remember the question. The question was that which of the following pollutants occur because of stubble burning. That was the question. ठीक है? उसमें जो ऑप्शन थे NO2, SO2, ozone, methane, ये सारे ऑप्शन थे. C, carbon monoxide. A lot of people marked that ozone will be wrong. देखो, why UPSC considered ozone to be correct? It should be very clear. Just because a pollutant is secondary pollutant, इसका मतलब ये तो नहीं है ना कि उसका कोई सोर्स ही नहीं है. अगर हम इस लॉजिक को यूज करेंगे तो फिर तो सेकेंडरी पॉल्यूटेंट का कोई सोर्स नहीं है. तो हम सेकेंडरी पॉल्यूटेंट के सोर्स के बारे में अगर हमको बोलना हो, then we will ask that what are the source of primary pollutant which causes that secondary pollutant. So the correct question to answer, the correct question which we should ask here about stubble burning, that does stubble burning release NO2? Does stubble burning release VOCs, volatile organic compound? And the answer is yes and yes. And do these two things can cause ozone pollution? Of course, yes. And that is why UPSC marked that correct. So I completely agree with UPSC logic, that why they considered ozone as correct there. Because if I do apply this logic of secondary pollutant, then it will seem like that secondary pollutant का कोई source ही नहीं है, which is of course not true. Secondary pollutant का वही source है जो primary pollutant का source है. जो भी primary pollutant है which causes that secondary pollutant, तो जो भी चीज whatever is emitting NO2, VOC can also cause ozone pollution in the presence of sunlight. Okay. This question, this is easy. Sorry, this question. A, answer is A. Electrostatic precipitator, this is used in case of power plants, thermal power plants. They emit lot of particulate matter. And particulate matter को filter करने का जो एक बहुत बढ़िया तरीका ये है that you essentially allow them to pass through a region which has very high voltage. And because of that, they temporarily become ionized. And then you collect them into an oppositely charged plate. So, और उसके बाद आप उसको filter कर सकते हो. So first is true, second is also true, and is the mechanism of first. So answer here is A. Flue gas का मतलब mixture of gases. Lot of things, one of that is particulate matter. Particulate matter is not gas, by the way. Particulate matter is suspended solid and liquid particles. Question 8. SO2, sulfur dioxide को कंट्रोल करने के लिए जो हम टेक्नोलॉजी यूज करते हैं, that is called flue gas desulfurization. नाम से बहुत clear है. That flue gas, again mixture of gases, and within that mixture of gases I am removing sulfur dioxide. There are two methods to do that. Wet flue gas desulfurization and dry flue gas desulfurization. Even if I am reading it for the first time, पहले तो नाम से clear हो रहा है कि इसका purpose क्या है. Let's see, in wet limestone FGD, SO2 from flue gases react with limestone to produce gypsum as a byproduct which can be used in construction. This is true, although this is very factual, but this is true. Dry sorbent injection, so that is dry FGD. Inject powdered sorbent directly into the flue gas, requiring much less water than wet FGD. This is true, but इसका एक नुकसान ये है that it is not as good as wet FGD. But इसका फायदा ये है कि wet FGD का एक और problem है, that it pollutes your water and उस water को आप directly dispose of नहीं कर सकते. तो आप ऐसे देख सकते हो, wet FGD system produce waste water that contains heavy metals leached from the scrubbing process. So अब आपके पास एक extra burden है, that you then filter this water and only then you can dispose it off. So third is true. Third is true. But उससे फिर कुछ काम बना नहीं मेरा. Answer can be either B, C or D. First जो है, that is a factual statement. Second I think is little bit easy. But first is factual statement because I also have to know that one of the byproduct will be gypsum, which can be used for construction process. So remember all of these facts, and I hope if similar question is there, you will not get it wrong. I told you in the last session also that UPSC will not go into such factual detail, and even if they do that, it will not happen in each and every question. They will give you a lot of leeway to get the answers right. I have not done it deliberately. Easy question बनाने का फायदा नहीं है. This is not a typical mock paper which I am doing. I am teaching this topic itself with help of this session. So the point I am trying to mention here is that if you did not know this, if you got it wrong, that's perfectly fine. The actual paper will be much more simpler and much more attemptable. BS6. This is true, this is a fact that we did not go for BS5. We went from 4 to 6. This is also true, it mandates introduction of selective catalytic reduction for all new diesel vehicle. Third is also true, that's a factual statement. Then this is true that जो BS4 है, वहाँ पे जो concentration of sulfur dioxide, sulfur content जो था, that allowed was 50 parts per million, and now in BS4 that is 10 parts per million. तो आपका जो fuel का जो sulfur content है, so it is not just an obligation on the automobile companies, it is also an obligation on the oil companies that आपका sulfur content कम होना चाहिए. So answer here is all three. C is the correct answer. ये पुराना current affairs है, नया नहीं है. But I do think that this question can be asked. What will be the answer here? Both 1 and 2. जो zigzag technology है, this is for brick kiln factories. The idea here is that same burning of coal, that heat energy can be used with much more higher efficiency. The design of this kiln, this has been changed, and if you actually go and look at that design cross-sectional view, you will appreciate this word zigzag. That why are we calling it zigzag? But that change in design makes this process much more energy efficient. And yeah, second is also true. Answer here is both 1 and 2. That it is under National Clean Air Program as well as National Mission for Enhanced Energy Efficiency. Sorry? इतना straightforward नहीं है. Like, this is one of the component, but जो kiln factory जो zigzag technology है, it is multiple things together. आप इसका cross sectional view जाके देखना और पूरा process देखना. So one of the mechanism is yes that how we are improving the surface area and heat absorption, but it is not only that. It is other things also, like how it circulates within that system. That is a larger part of this entire change in design. So that zigzag word जो है वो वहाँ से आता है कि how this air is going to circulate within this kiln, brick kiln factory. तो आइडिया यहाँ पे ये है कि जो kiln है जहाँ पे हम ईंट बनाते हैं उसको हम कैसे एनर्जी इफिशिएंट बनाएं, उसका हमारा जो कार्बन इमिशन है कैसे हम कम करें. 11, sorry, I will give you some time, 10 minutes, solve next 10 questions. You can do till 21. Rest of the 8 questions are about conventions and some government schemes. So 21 तक कर सकते हो. Can we discuss the questions? Okay. Question number 11. The seasonal spike in air pollution is partly attributed to stubble burning. That's of course correct. The narrow window between paddy harvesting and wheat sowing forces farmers to dispose crop residue rapidly. The Punjab Preservation Subsoil Water Act indirectly contributed to more compressed paddy to wheat transition window in the state. Both are correct, and both are also correct explanation of the stubble burning, and as a result of that, air pollution. Answer is A here. Okay. So what? This act is considered, it is no longer a matter of opinion. A lot of people, a lot of experts are of this consensus. There is a reason why this act was passed. पहले तो ये भी है. There is a reason. Act was passed because of groundwater table is going down and down. That is because of excessive dependence upon groundwater irrigation and use of rice and wheat in a state which is not very water surplus state. Yeah, so our agricultural policy is series of failure, one after another. And just a second. The act was passed to ensure that when some notification will happen, and that will depend upon rainfall. So the goal here was that how can we reduce our dependence on groundwater. So the entire cultivation was shifted by about 2 months, and as a result of that you have very less time period between the next crop. So it is not considered now a matter of opinion. Like a lot of environmentalists, they have this consensus that I'm not saying that this act is not justifiable. There is a reason why this act was passed. But this act did lead to this consequence of excessive stubble burning. You had a question. Happy seeder machine जिसको बोलते हैं हम. पूसा डिकम्पोजर उसकी बात कर रहे हैं. एनीवेज आप क्वेश्चन कंप्लीट कीजिए सर. ओके ठीक है, आई एग्री. जिस तरह तो इसीलिए हमारा जो फोकस है, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल इनका पॉइंट ये है that some of the modern equipments which we use, this will not solve this stubble problem. Yeah, that is true. So that is why some of the options like that happy seeder machine or that decomposer, or maybe collect all of this and convert that into pellet and use that into power plant. So lot of things have been proposed that how can we tackle this problem. वो एक उसका part हो गया. Like we are going into deeper into the root cause of the problem and then of course the solution to the problem. If statement 2 is explanation of statement 1, then statement 3 is also explanation of statement 1. And yeah, both of them essentially are explaining statement 1. ठीक है, I understand your point, but आप ऐसे इसको सोचो कि if statement 2 is correct, what is statement 2 saying? That there is a narrow window between two crops. And that narrow window is because of, third, that Punjab Preservation of Subsoil Water Act. That actually played a very important role in that narrow window. And that leads to stubble burning. Yeah, that is true, yeah. तो उस जोग्राफिकल फैक्टर का कारण जो है, आपकी बात बिल्कुल सही है, बट उस जोग्राफिकल फैक्टर का एक जो बहुत बड़ा कारण है वो लेट अराइवल ऑफ रेन है. तो जोग्राफिकल फैक्टर का बहुत बड़ा कारण पहले तो ये है कि वाटर डिफिशिएंट स्टेट है. पंजाब एंड हरियाणा आर नॉट वाटर सरप्लस स्टेट. ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन हैपेंड मोस्टली इन दिस पार्ट and so much of focus on agricultural intensive crop, which ideally should not have happened, or even if it did happen, gradually from 1990s onwards we should have shifted to something else. We did not. And then as a result of that, groundwater table has receded. That is a geographical fact. So yeah, I agree with you, but ऐसा नहीं है कि this act did not play a role. This act was passed because of this geographical fact, and that further contributed to overall that time period being compressed. Okay. Nitrate pollution. So there is a reason why I have given the first statement here. This was in news recently, it has been in news continuously, that most of the rivers in India, they have much more higher nitrate content than prescribed by Bureau of Indian Standards. And the answer is, first is true. ये जो 45 milligram per liter, that is also called parts per million, that is true. ppm, milligram per liter, that is the same thing. Second, that blue baby syndrome, this essentially impacts oxygen carrying capacity of hemoglobin molecule. This happens in young infants. This is also true. Hence the name blue baby syndrome. And third, it can come from chemical fertilizer use. Not can come from, it is the major source. It is not just can come from. The most important anthropogenic source of nitrate pollution is excessive use of fertilizer into agriculture. So answer here is all of the above. All three are correct. Okay, just because some blue veins, that is altogether a different problem. Don't confuse with blue baby syndrome is a very specific term which is used for this disease. You are definitely confusing it with something else. Because blue baby syndrome जो है, that is name of a specific disease. नाम उसका complete name ये है, but popularly this is called blue baby syndrome. Lack of blood, jaundice, all of those are other things. Blue baby syndrome is a very specific term given because of consumption of nitrate based water, and that reacts with hemoglobin molecule and that reduces the oxygen carrying capacity. And because of that, literally you can start seeing that blood circulation is not happening to the same extent. You can see that blue veins, hence the name blue baby syndrome. Right? And yes, it can happen because of other reasons also. But this term is used specifically for nitrate pollution. नहीं, बिल्कुल सबको याद नहीं रखना है हमको. आपका क्वेश्चन ये है कि सारे ब्यूरो ऑफ इंडियन स्टैंडर्ड सारे पॉल्यूटेंट्स का हम याद रखें, आप ये पूछ रहे हो? बिल्कुल भी नहीं. नाइट्रेट मैंने सिर्फ इसलिए करा है बिकॉज नाइट्रेट पोल्यूशन इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट टॉक्ड अबाउट पोल्यूशन विच हैज बिन देयर इन द न्यूज. दैट इज वाई बहुत सारे पॉल्यूटेंट्स हैं, बहुत सारे पैरामीटर्स हैं. पीएच है, कंडक्टिविटी है, सैलिनिटी है, टर्बिडिटी है, यूरेनियम है, आर्सेनिक है, फ्लोर, कितना याद रखोगे आप? नहीं याद रख सकते. नाइट्रेट मैं इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ बिकॉज आप कोई भी स्टैंडर्ड वाटर रिपोर्ट पर हो, कुछ चीजें सेम होंगी, हमेशा होंगी. आर्सेनिक यूरेनियम हो या नहीं हो, कुछ चीजें सीपीसी भी हमेशा देखेगी. कॉलीफॉर्म है कि नहीं? कॉलीफॉर्म इज अ बैक्टीरिया फाउंड इन एक्सक्रीटा. तो कॉलीफॉर्म है कि नहीं? नाइट्रेट है कि नहीं? बीओडी कितना है? डिसॉल्व्ड ऑक्सीजन लेवल कितना है? दीज आर सम ऑफ द पैरामीटर्स विच ऑलवेज विल बी चेक्ड. तो आप इनको याद रख सकते हो. अबाउट यूरेनियम, फ्लोरीन, आर्सेनिक, ये सारा याद रखना जो है काफी मुश्किल है. राइट, तो सारे हम याद, ये मैंने सिर्फ इसलिए दे रखा है कि एक तो नाइट्रेट हमेशा हर वाटर रिपोर्ट में मिलेगा आपको, फर्स्ट, एंड सेकेंड, नाइट्रेट पॉल्यूशन हैज बीन इन न्यूज कंटिन्यूअसली, एंड दैट इज व्हाई आई हैव केप्ट दिस स्पेसिफिक फैक्ट आल्सो इन द क्वेश्चन. हाँ, नाइट्रेट का 45, ये भी सही है. नाइट्रेट का जो है पार्ट्स पर मिलियन में आ जाता है, काफी हाई है, दैट इज ट्रू. For this question, how many of them are correct? Only 3. Which one is not correct? Chromium. What does chromium cause? Mostly cancer. Chromium pollution causes cancer. It can cause disruption to our endocrine system, but it is not associated with as such iodine deficiency disorder. So first is true, lead causes neurotoxic damage, cognitive impairment, particularly among young children. Cadmium causes itai disease. This causes very severe pain in bone joints, right? And mercury causes Minamata. So yeah, that is true. Answer is only 3 here. Mercury pollution को हम बहुत तरीके से देख सकते हैं, not just from dental industry. Mercury जो है बहुत जगह पे यूज होता है. जैसे mercury का सबसे फेमस यूज तो बैटरी में ही है. Lot of batteries use it, lot of sensors, thermometers, they use mercury. बहुत से coal incineration, waste incineration में mercury बहुत सारा produce होता है. Coal power plants में mercury बहुत सारा produce होता है. So mercury के बहुत सारे sources हैं, ऐसा नहीं है कि एक ही है. ये क्या होगा? 14 का आंसर? Sorry? D will be the answer. आर्सेनिक जो है वो एलिमेंट है. आप बॉयल करके आप माइक्रोब्स मारते हो, मेटल को नहीं खत्म करते आप. सो जो बॉइलिंग वाटर है, नॉट करेक्ट पूछा हुआ है, नॉट करेक्ट पूछा हुआ है. सो फर्स्ट जो है, आर्सेनिक इज मोस्टली जियोजेनिक, दैट इज ट्रू. आर्सेनिक पोल्यूशन जो ऐसा नहीं है दैट आर्सेनिक इज नॉट बिकॉज ऑफ एंथ्रोपोजेनिक एक्टिविटी. आर्सेनिक इन this region, northern India region, is mostly geogenic. Geogenic means geological origin. Lot of sedimentary rocks have lot of arsenic, and as a result of that, groundwater can be polluted. I repeat, if there is a statement that it is only geogenic, that will be wrong. It is largely geogenic, that will be correct. Chronic arsenic exposure, internal cancer, cardiovascular diseases, true. Groundwater pumping of irrigated rice cultivation has been linked to acceleration of arsenic mobilization, that is also true. Fourth, boiling contaminated water before consumption is an effective method to reduce arsenic concentration. It is only and only an effective method to kill microbial organisms. About suspended solids pollutants, that cannot be taken care of. Okay, so answer here is not correct, जो है वो D है. A, B, C हैं, they are correct. What about next question? 2 only. हम पंजाब में कब यूरेनियम माइनिंग होने लगा? Right, so first is of course not correct. Uranium contamination of groundwater in states like Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan is due to uranium mining in these states. Uranium mining mostly happens in India, in Jharkhand, in I think Andhra Pradesh also has a place, right? So it does not happen in Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan. So first is not true. Uranium is another example of mostly geogenic. Not always, but mostly geogenic, mostly geological origin. Arsenic, uranium दोनों के साथ जो bigger source है वो natural source है. Second is true, uranium का 2 बहुत serious problem है. Uranium consumption, uranium emits alpha decay, and alpha decay is related to cancer because आप alpha decay को तो वैसे तो shirt filter कर लेगा, but once you drink that water, then alpha decay is being produced inside your body, and that can cause cancer. But a bigger problem is kidney damage. uranium causes kidney damage. So these are the two problems associated with uranium pollution: cancer due to alpha decay and kidney damage. Yeah. Alpha decay from uranium, if you are exposed to it, can it cause cancer? The answer is yes. Statement I have not mentioned that. In statement I have not mentioned it. This is a statement about that if you are exposed to alpha decay. There is an assumption, inherent assumption in this statement that alpha decay radiation from uranium decay causes cancer. If you are exposed to it, it can cause cancer. Okay? And the fact that we are talking about uranium contamination in groundwater, we are essentially saying that not uranium somewhere. We are talking about water, uranium, you are drinking it, and that is causing cancer. And I repeat this, a bigger problem will be kidney damage associated with uranium and water. Anyways, question 16, reverse osmosis. क्या होगा आंसर यहाँ पे? Pressure greater than osmotic pressure of feed water is applied to force water molecules through a semi-permeable membrane. That is of course true. Remember, osmosis is a natural process. Somewhere I have higher salt concentration, somewhere I have lower salt concentration, right? So the water will flow from low to high in a way that concentration stabilizes. Here, I want that high concentration to go towards low concentration. And for that I have to force it. I have to force through a membrane, and that needs energy. So that is why our RO in our house, that requires energy. So first जो है, that is true, that pressure greater than osmotic pressure is required, and that requires external energy. It is effective against all microbes. आपके घर में अगर RO है तो आपको पता है कि गलत है, because RO plus UV साथ में लिखा होगा. तो अगर खाली RO होता तो फिर ये UV की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती. If RO can take care of all of the pollutants, then ultraviolet light की जरूरत नहीं है. तो जो ultraviolet light है, that is killing microbial organism. RO is filtering suspended pollutants and salts from the water. An environmental concern with RO deployment of seawater is disposal of concentrated brine reject stream. That is true. That जो brine है, that waste water है, उसको आप कहाँ dispose of करोगे? So that is a concern if we are using reverse osmosis for seawater desalination. Answer first and third, that is true. Second is not true. Answer here is only 2. 17, did you know this? Coagulation and flocculation. Okay. So पहले तो बहुत सारे जो colloids हैं, colloids are suspended pollutants in the water. Many of the colloids, they have negative charge, and because of that they keep repelling each other, and as they repel each other they remain suspended, so they do not accumulate at the bottom. अगर वो accumulate हो जाए तो through sedimentation we can filter the water. Remember, sedimentation is a physical filtration method. So coagulation में हम क्या करेंगे? Coagulation and flocculation first involves chemical mechanism, and then later it uses sedimentation. So there are certain type of chemicals called coagulants, and one of the best example is aluminium sulfate. This is true. What this does, this disrupts the negative charge of the suspended colloids, and as a result of that, पहले जो repel कर रहे थे, now they start coming together, and as they come together they become bigger flocks, and that is now flocculation is. So as they become bigger, now they settle down and they can be filtered out. So flocculation is gentle mixing step that causes destabilized particles to aggregate into larger settleable or filterable clumps. And third is true, that both coagulation and flocculation can remove suspended solid, turbidity, but also some heavy metals. Yeah, that is true. So first, second, third, all three are correct. Answer here is all three. Coagulation, flocculation is a very famous method of water filtration. Water disinfection method. What will be the answer here? Even if you did not know this, I would want you to attempt. Answer is A. Answer is A. If again ऐसे क्वेश्चन में अगर आपको मान लो कुछ भी नहीं पता हो तो एक तो हमेशा आप चेक करके देख लेना. ये हर जगह काम नहीं करेगा. एक आप हमेशा चेक करके देखना कि आप फर्स्ट को एज्यूम करना कि करेक्ट है, पहले एज्यूम करना, और फिर देखना कि सेकंड जो है डज इट एक्सप्लेन फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट करेक्टली. एंड इफ इट इज द केस, देन देयर इज अ वेरी गुड चांस दैट आंसर इज ए. Again, of course, it will only work if answer is A. Otherwise, it will not work. जैसे यहाँ पे देखो आप, chlorination provides a residual disinfectant effect in the distribution system, while ozone and UV treatment do not. Chlorine remains active in water even after treatment, continuing to kill pathogens, where ozone and UV treatment provides no such protection. UV आप एक बार करोगे, आपका जो RO है, पानी filter हुआ, is going through ultraviolet light, is killing microbial organism. Same thing, ozone can react with lot of those microbes and they can destroy them. Ozone can destroy them. So that is called ozonation. Ozone is used in water filtration, by the way. So chlorination, ozonation and ultraviolet light. So chlorination का benefit ये है that chlorine continuously, even in the transmission, if some microbes are getting accumulated, chlorine will keep on killing them. So answer here is A. What about this question? Both 1 and 2. First, let me tell you hota kya hai. Activated sludge process is one of the most prevalent method to treat municipal water. So municipal water treatment hai, that often uses activated sludge process. This is a fantastic example of bioremediation. So in activated sludge process, you take wastewater and then you take activated sludge. Activated का मतलब यहाँ पे ये है that this contains bacterias and you aerate this. Aerate का मतलब you provide lot of oxygen to this particular setup, and in the presence of oxygen and water, bacteria multiply rapidly, and those bacteria are going to decompose that wastewater and convert that into non-polluting form. So that is bioremediation. So this is called activated sludge का मतलब यही है that you are providing an aeration tank जहाँ पे organic matter का जो decomposition है that will happen at higher rate. But if you keep on removing this entire mechanism, then जो useful bacteria which is helping in that decomposition, that will be completely washed away. So you always feed back that activated sludge, some percentage of that back to the system, right? So second is also true, that return to the aeration tank, otherwise the active microbial population would be washed out of the system. Answer here is both 1 and 2. This is, I repeat, one of the most famous method of municipal water treatment, which is called activated sludge process. Question number 20. First भी सही है. Zero liquid discharge का मतलब ये है, wastewater is treated, recycled within the plant, no liquid effluent is discharged to the environment. Think of lot of industries where we use fresh water for some purpose. That fresh water becomes polluted, you have to treat it before you discharge it. But the treatment does not happen to the extent which is desirable. So when you release this polluted water back to the aquatic ecosystem, that ecosystem gets polluted. So in this context, zero liquid discharge is applicable to few industries, not all of them. This is, go and read about it, that for which industries this is applicable. So it is applicable for few industries, that whatever water you are using, you do not discharge any wastewater now to the, you keep using that. आप जो भी method use करो, physical, chemical, biological, जो भी करो, but you keep using that same water again and again. So first is true, second is also true, it is mandated by MOEF and CPCB for few industries. This is not universal mandate for all industries, only for few industries. Third, that it is energy intensive. Of course it will be energy intensive. So many processes are involved here. In water filtration, it will be energy intensive. So all three are correct. Answer here is C. Last 10 minutes, last few questions. I will give you question number 21 to 29. Attempt this last. 21 कर लिया हमने. Okay, ये answer again both 1 and 2 है. So carbon nanotubes possess very high surface area. All nanomaterials will possess very high surface area. That is true. And because of that, they can absorb lot of pollutants. That is also true. So high objects with very high surface area can react with more amount of things in their surrounding and can absorb it. First is true. But that does not mean that carbon nanotube is being used on a large scale. Carbon nanotube, how it can impact the living organism in aquatic ecosystem, we still are not very clear about that. So that is a cause of concern. But we do know that carbon nanotube is capable of removing pollutants. Second, photocatalytic nanomaterials such as titanium dioxide under UV or visible light, yeah, that is also true. This produces hydroxyl molecule, do not have to know that, but hydroxyl molecule that can react with microbe and can break down their cell wall. So titanium dioxide is a very famous nanomaterial, has many applications. One of that is, for example, in sunscreen lotion, but it also has application in killing microbial organism. So answer here is both 1 and 2. So I'll give you a few more minutes. Question number 22 to 29, solve these last few questions. In next session, by the way, first let me tell you that in the next session, we have not touched upon forest at all. So we'll do forest conservation and some other initiatives like carbon credit scheme or green credit scheme, like a lot of schemes we have not talked about which have been in news. So I think I will have some 35, 40 more questions in our next session, which will also be our last session. Anyways, today's last few questions, question number 22 to 29. जहाँ तक मुझे पता है दोनों का मीनिंग सेम ही है, बट इज देयर अ डिफरेंस? आई डू नॉट, आई थिंक इट मीन्स सेम. You have to consent prior, essentially you are alerting somebody before you essentially export something which can be considered environmentally problematic. So I have not come across that these two terms have separate meaning. As far as you know, advanced informed consent and prior informed consent, they have the similar meaning. Let's discuss the questions. Okay. Question number 22. What do you think is the answer? The Basel Convention aims to reduce generation of hazardous waste and control their transboundary movement. That is the purpose of Basel Convention. Legally binding convention, India is a signatory. Transboundary movement of hazardous waste, right? The Basel Ban Amendment prohibits the export of hazardous waste from OECD and EU countries to non-OECD countries, even for recycling purpose. What do you think? It is true. The reason why it is true, because this was used as a ploy by developed nations to send things that in the name of recycling, again वो greenwashing जो आपने पढ़ा है ना term, that in the name of recycling you are exploiting developing nations. And of course there will be few industries which are willing to take this waste if you pay them enough money, right? Yeah, so this Basel Ban Amendment, this occurred specifically to tackle this thing, that even for recycling purposes this will not be allowed. And third is also true. Third is also true, not for all type of plastic, although statement में दे नहीं रखा है, but it did included many type of plastic, particularly multi-layered plastic and plastic which are difficult to recycle. They also cannot be disposed of. This is a recent amendment. ये जो last है, that plastic is some type of plastic is within the definition of that hazardous waste. This was a very recent change into Basel Convention. Answer here is all three, 1, 2 and 3. आप खुद का कैपेबिलिटी बनाओ ना, आप रिसाइकल करना है आपको. आप ऐसे सोचो कि यू आर अ कंपनी ना OECD कंट्री, आप बहुत इन्वायरमेंट फ्रेंडली हो, रिसाइकल करना चाहते हो, तो आपको अफ्रीका क्यों भेजना है? आप खुद का रिसाइकल करो. So the point is that companies were essentially using this as a ploy, that हमारे पास recycling capability नहीं है तो हम अफ्रीका में भेज रहे हैं. But of course it was the main purpose was to dump the waste. There are few companies which are willing to take this. So that is why this ban occurred, that even for recycling purpose this will not be allowed. Okay. Any other question? POPs. इसमें जो सेकंड है पक्के से आप याद रखोगे, जो सेकंड है वो इंपॉर्टेंट है. पॉलीक्लोरिनेटेड बाइफिनाइल, दिस इज अ इंडस्ट्रियल केमिकल. ऑल थ्री आर करेक्ट बाय द वे, राइट? सो जो क्लोरीपाइरिफॉस है, दिस इज अ पेस्टिसाइड. पॉलीक्लोरिनेटेड बाइफिनाइल, दिस इज अ इंडस्ट्रियल केमिकल यूज्ड इन इंसुलेटर एंड कूलेंट्स इन इलेक्ट्रिकल इक्विपमेंट. सो आई विल रिमेंबर दिस ऑल्सो, दैट इसका एप्लीकेशन क्या है. And dioxins and furans, these are unintentional byproducts of waste incineration. This is also true. What are the characteristics of persistent organic pollutants? Long-lived, stable, transboundary movement, bioaccumulative properties. Okay. No. Polychlorinated biphenyl is an industrial chemical. डर्टी डजन में पेस्टिसाइड्स एंड इंडस्ट्रियल केमिकल जहां तक मुझे याद है एक ही है, पॉलीक्लोरिनेटेड बाइफिनाइल है. बाद के लिस्ट में बाकी के बाइफिनाइल्स ऐड हुए होंगे, बट जो ओरिजिनल लिस्ट था वहां पे तो इफ आई रिमेंबर करेक्टली देयर वाज ओनली पॉलीक्लोरिनेटेड बाइफिनाइल. एक बार चेक करके देखना, बिकॉज मोस्टली वेर पेस्टिसाइड्स This was an industrial chemical, and dioxin and furan, these were considered unintended persistent organic pollutants. Many more were added later, but in the original list, I think this was the only one, PCB. Anyways, 24, what is the answer? Both 1 and 2. DDT is a persistent organic pollutant, by the way. However, its controlled use is allowed because DDT has applications in killing mosquito and controlling mosquito population. So in developing nation, DDT is still allowed, even though it is within that original dirty dozen, those 12 persistent organic pollutants, and it has the property, all of the property of being a persistent POP, which I discussed. So first is true, and second is also true. You should also know that these 3 conventions, they often work together. Basel Convention, Stockholm Convention, and Rotterdam Convention. So the next question is about Rotterdam Convention. यहाँ पे क्या आंसर? ये easy है. नहीं, B is the correct answer. Correct answer is B. India has ratified the convention. Under the domestic legal framework, the Chemical Rules and Insecticide Act provide implementation. ये जो है has obtained exemptions for all agricultural chemicals from PIC requirement on the grounds of food security. This is a trap. This is completely a trap. DDT को लेके जो exemption है वो भी mosquito control को लेके है. So answer here is B. ये कैसे गलत कर दिया? I felt that this was a easy question. 26 मरपोल administered by IMO. ये याद रखना है हमको. Almost जितने भी ऐसे जो pollution वाले conventions हैं, all of them come under UNEP. But जो मरपोल convention है, this comes under International Maritime Organization. So ये हम याद रखेंगे, खुद में एक fact है. What about second? सही है. मरपोल जो है, sorry. Have no, नहीं, second गलत है, you're right. Second गलत है. मरपोल का जो jurisdiction है, this is not limited only to international water. This jurisdiction also exists in exclusive economic zone. Third is true. India is a signatory to the convention. Answer here is only 2. Thanks a lot. Sorry, I actually. हाँ, उसमें भी है. मरपोल जो है, shipping industry हर जगह regulate होता है. Shipping industry irrespective of मरपोल convention applicable होगा. It is not like that high seas treaty. High seas treaty which is only for international water, which I discussed few minutes ago. This question. Second is the most famous example of phytoremediation. Bioremediation is use of bacteria and fungi to break down pollutants. Phytoremediation is use of plants to remove pollutants. Phytoremediation involves use of plants to absorb, accumulate contaminants from soil or water. This is true. Sunflower has been used for removing radioactive material. This occurred at Chernobyl. When Chernobyl disaster happened in 1986, the nearby ponds which had lot of these radioisotopes, they were absorbed with help of sunflower. This is the most famous case, documented case of use of plants to remove dangerous substances. Water hyacinth, by the way, water hyacinth is a invasive species, but this is true, that it can do rhizofiltration, that is removal of heavy metals, and nutrient uptake from eutrophic water bodies. So both can be true. Remember, this is an invasive plant, but this is also true. And fourth, Indian mustard is recognized as a potent hyperaccumulator. का मतलब है huge amount. It can remove multiple huge amount of pollutants from the soil, and this is also true. It can remove lead, cadmium, and selenium. This is a fantastic example. I will give one more example, poplar tree. Poplar tree is another very good example of removing pollutants from the soil. तो ये जितने भी examples हैं, sunflower, water hyacinth, Indian mustard, poplar tree, remember this and also remember the concept of phytoremediation. Answer here is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yes? Okay, so it should be very clear that when we use phytoremediation, our goal is that we are not going to consume them. Our goal is that बहुत dispersed pollutant है, उसको हम कैसे accumulate करके dispose of करें. So it's very clear कि जो Indian mustard, अगर मान लो mustard use कर भी रहे हैं to remove the pollutant, then our goal here is to remove the pollutant. Our goal here is that दोनों काम कर लेते हैं, double benefit होगा. So we do not do that, right? So in general we do not do that for phytoremediation. Disposing of करने के तरीके अलग अलग. If we have one of lot of pollutants here, we can dispose of into some geological repositories. We can place it in places जहाँ पे हमारा कोई agricultural कोई industrial activity नहीं है, underground water से बहुत दूर है. So there can be multiple ways to dispose it of, in a way that it does not directly impact human beings, animals, our close ecosystems in our surrounding. सबसे बड़ा challenge ये है कि हम एक जगह accumulate कैसे करें, which is dispersed across water and soil, and this is where plants can play a very important role. Okay, why would we do that? No, but why are we juxtaposing phytoremediation and biofuel production together? सबसे पहले तो ये है कि just because the plant is doing phytoremediation does not mean that it is also rich in starch. जैसे mustard is not rich in starch. For biofuel, I need plants which are rich in sugar, right? Or we need some other type of organic matter which is rich in, let's say, triglyceride, lipid molecules. So, no, generally these two things are two separate things. Like biofuel production is separate, phytoremediation is a separate thing. अब नहीं समझ गया मैं. अब ये क्वेश्चन जो है इसके लिए थोड़ा सा बायोलॉजी में डीप में जाना पड़ेगा, विच आई डू नॉट हैव द आंसर राइट नाउ. तो आप सॉरी आप एग्जांपल एक और कुछ दे रहे थे सतपुरा में. अच्छा, इसलिए आपने उसको करेक्ट माना था. ओके, ठीक है. अगर ऐसा कुछ है, that it is because of the fact that they belong to same family. And now that you say it, it makes sense. But again हमको थोड़ा सा डीप में जाना पड़ेगा इसको अप्रिशिएट करने के लिए. That जो एग्जैक्ट मैकेनिज्म है वो फिर क्या है. And yeah, maybe then your argument will be true, and your knowledge of biology is beneficial then. That sunflower and mustard, they belong to same family. The answer here will be all of the above. Anyways, this question. No. Okay, the question is that the same plant being used for biofuel production.Hy do we have to do these two things together? That was the point. ऐसे हम क्यों करेंगे? मतलब बायोफ्यूल प्रोडक्शन करेंगे तो व्हाट अबाउट दैट पॉल्यूटेंट, वो कहाँ पे जाएगा हमको पता भी नहीं चलेगा. हमारा पूरा पर्पस था उस पॉल्यूटेंट को एक्यूमुलेट करके सही से डिस्पोज ऑफ करना. अब हम बोल रहे हैं कि चलो उसको गाड़ियों में जलाते हैं. राइट, विल नॉट डू. द मेन पॉइंट इज दैट विल नॉट juxtapose these things together. And yes, it is true that yes, we can take mustard oil and we can convert that into certain type of biofuel, but even then we will not keep these two things together. We'll ideally not do these two things together. This question, third जो है वो बहुत ही extreme statement है. That the third, by the way, I should tell you that there is a very specific component within the rule which talks about management of hazardous waste. Same as electronic waste management rule. Even this waste management rules talks about that gradually we have to reduce certain type of hazardous waste such as lead, chromium, mercury. But this statement that within 2 year complete phase out, that does not make sense. First is true, yes, it does adopt that extended producer responsibility. Plastic rule has this, electronic waste management rule has this, and now battery waste management rule also has this. And second is also true that PIBOs, that is that extended producer responsibility, are responsible for the collection and recycling of end of life batteries they place on the market. So first and second are true, third is not correct here. इस पे अभी तक क्वेश्चन आया नहीं है on battery waste management rule. Okay. This is a very specific question. Within electronic waste management rule, this question is about EPR certificates. It is a regulatory framework where PIBOs, again, same thing, obtain digital certificates from authorized recyclers to prove they have met mandatory waste recycling target. इसमें कुछ भी गलत नहीं है. इस statement को हम पढ़ेंगे, बड़ी लंबा statement है. Remember, whenever we read a statement, if you think this is wrong, you try to figure out which part is wrong. So if I know the definition of extended producer responsibility, then I know that there is nothing wrong as such in first statement. A producer may purchase EPR certificate limited to its extended producer responsibility liability of current year. This is true. So ये जो EPR certificate trading जो है, this has essentially been allowed in one of the recent amendment, and that is why this question I have put it here. Same thing is also in plastic waste management rule. That the same way we have plastic credit model, here you have EPR certificate buying and selling mechanism, which has been introduced recently. So answer here is both 1 and 2. Another very important amendment has been that there is a deposit refund scheme. As a consumer, जो producers हैं, they can essentially charge some surcharge from you, and when you, at the end of the life, when you return it back to them, they have to return that money along with interest to you. The goal here is कि अभी जो हमारा जो producers हैं, they have to invest into that accumulating electronic waste. This will be simplified if we have such type of deposit refund scheme. So that is also a recent change in electronic waste rule. Last session, tomorrow, we will talk about some of the remaining topics, some of the initiatives in forest conservation. That will be a major theme, but also many other themes which we have not discussed till now. I will see you guys tomorrow. I am preparing the answer key. That answer key will include the correct answer, but also some extra content about each and every theme. But I think it will take 1 or 2 more days. So I will get it uploaded on that Telegram channel, and I will also do this on the YouTube video description, so you can download it from there. I will see you guys tomorrow. ये वाला क्लास, अच्छा ये मुझे भी नहीं पता है, तो मुझे देखना पड़ेगा कि कल का टाइम क्या है. सो मुझे नहीं पता कि नहीं, मुझे देखना पड़ेगा फिर 5 बजे क्या है. कल मेरा एक और सेशन है, तो मुझे शायद उन्होंने कुछ चेंज, लेट मी चेक एंड कंफर्म दिस. वो अपडेट हो जाएगा मेरे हिसाब से फिर वो.
Every UPSC result proves one thing quietly. Success does not begin at the final stage. It begins much earlier, with the kind of foundation a student builds. The UPSC CSE 2025 result makes that visible again. 10 candidates in the top 100 prepared through the Vision IAS GS Foundation Classroom course, including AIR 5 Nishan Bhatnagar. That kind of result is not built on motivation alone. It is built on the right sequence, the right guidance, and the right correction. This is what the Vision IAS Delhi GS Foundation course is designed for. Concept first classroom learning, so preparation is not scattered. Early answer writing and testing, so improvement starts on time. PT 365 and Mains 365, so current affairs become usable in the exam. And mentorship that keeps preparation aligned, focused and accountable. Because in UPSC, hard work is common. Structured preparation is what creates separation. If you are targeting UPSC 2027, start by building your base the right way. Vision IAS Delhi GS Foundation course. Upcoming classroom batches at Karol Bagh, 24th March at 5 p.m, 30th March at 8 a.m, and 7th April at 11 a.m. At GTB Nagar, 17th March at 8 a.m. and 25th March at 6 p.m. Register at our website or call us on the given number.
यूपीएससी 2027 का लक्ष्य जितना बड़ा है, उसे पाने की योजना भी उतनी ही स्पष्ट और संगठित होनी चाहिए. विजन आईएएस लेकर आया है क्लासरूम फाउंडेशन कोर्स 2027 के 12 से 14 महीनों का एक ऐसा सुव्यवस्थित कार्यक्रम है जहां आपकी तैयारी एक अनुशासित और वैज्ञानिक ढांचे में आगे बढ़ती है. यहाँ क्लासरूम लर्निंग के साथ साथ आपको मिलता है लाइव और रिकॉर्डेड सेशंस का विकल्प, जिसे आप अपने व्यक्तिगत ऑनलाइन पोर्टल के माध्यम से कभी भी और कहीं भी एक्सेस कर सकते हैं. तैयारी के सफर को और भी प्रभावी बनाती है हमारी व्यक्तिगत क्लासरूम मेंटरिंग. हमारे एक्सपर्ट मेंटर्स नियमित मार्गदर्शन और स्मार्ट स्टडी मैनेजमेंट के जरिए आपकी तैयारी को एक सही दिशा और गति प्रदान करते हैं. शैक्षणिक दृष्टिकोण से देखें तो यह कोर्स मुख्य परीक्षा के सामान्य अध्ययन के चारों प्रश्न पत्रों, सीसेट और निबंध का व्यापक कवरेज सुनिश्चित करता है. विषयों की समसामयिक समझ विकसित करने के लिए मासिक करंट अफेयर्स मैगजीन और रिवीजन क्लासेस के साथ साथ पीटी 365 और मेंस 365 की विशेष कक्षाएं भी इस कार्यक्रम का अनिवार्य हिस्सा हैं, ताकि स्टैटिक और करंट अफेयर्स के बीच एक सटीक संतुलन बना रहे। तैयारी की गहराई मापने के लिए निरंतर अभ्यास अनिवार्य है, इसलिए डेली असाइनमेंट और साप्ताहिक मिनी टेस्ट के साथ साथ मासिक प्रीलिम्स और मेंस टेस्ट के माध्यम से आपकी प्रगति का निरंतर आकलन किया जाता है। इस कार्यक्रम की शक्ति है हमारी प्रतिष्ठित ऑल इंडिया टेस्ट सीरीज, जिसमें प्रीलिम्स के 35, मेंस के 30, सी सेट के 25 और निबंध के 5 टेस्ट का समावेश है। साथ ही संधान पोर्टल पर 25,000 से अधिक प्रश्नों का विशाल संग्रह आपके अभ्यास और विश्लेषण को और भी सुदृढ़ बनाता है। अब समय है अपनी मेहनत को एक मजबूत, संरचित और निरंतर प्रक्रिया में ढालने का। विजन आईएएस के साथ जुड़े और यूपीएससी 2027 की अपनी सफलता की राह को एक स्पष्ट दिशा दें।
UPSC Prelims is not the destination, it's the first crucial step, and clearing this step requires more than hard work. It demands the right strategy. Vision IAS All India GS Prelims Test Series 2027 with Sandhan is designed to give you that edge from the very beginning. With 35 structured tests, build your journey from fundamentals to full-length tests, ensuring clear, step-by-step progression. With Sandhan, personalized practice, you get more than 25,000 questions targeting your weak areas. Every test becomes a step toward measurable improvement. With smart analysis plus mentoring gain, get precise insights into your mistakes and refine your strategy with expert guidance. With quick revision material, QRM, focus on revising what truly matters exactly when you need it the most. Starting from 19th April, ensure you don't just attempt Prelims 2027, you prepare to clear it. To register, visit our website or call us on the given numbers. All India GS Mains Test Series and Mentoring Program 2027, not just a test series, a system designed to improve how you write. For Mains 2027, what matters is not how much you know, but how effectively you present it on paper. And that's exactly what this program builds. Write regularly, get evaluated with precision, understand your mistakes, improve with clear mentorship. So with every test, your answers become more structured, more relevant, more impactful. This is where preparation turns into performance. Start early, improve consistently. Be ready for Mains 2027. To know more, visit our website or call us on the given numbers. Are you ready to face prelims head-on? Because prelims is not just about knowledge, it's about performance under pressure. That's where Abhyas, the All India Prelims, GS plus CSAT mock test comes in. Designed as a true exam simulation, Abhyas recreates the real UPSC. Prelims experience the same pattern, the same time constraints and the same intensity. It places you in a national arena, competing with aspirants across India, backed by an all-India ranking that reveals your true standing. Attempted by 1 in 3 top 50 rankers, Abhyas has become a trusted benchmark for serious aspirants. With detailed post-test analysis, live discussions and complete syllabus coverage in both English and Hindi, it ensures your preparation is not just extensive but exam-ready. 3 full-length offline simulations will be conducted across 100+ cities on 5th April, 19th April and 10th May. From 9:30 am to 11:30 am for General Studies, that is paper 1, and 2:30 pm to 4:30 pm for CSAT, that's paper 2. Challenge your preparation, test your performance. For more information or register, visit our website or call us on the given numbers.